keyboard. I've started acquiring some guitars and stuff. This is like a junior guitar. Just again, like whether I get my hands on it and maybe figure some stuff out, or maybe I get somebody up here that wants to play.
Is mine up here?
The acoustic one?
The kids one.
Yeah, the junior acoustic one's in the basement. Yeah, it's on the keyboard.
Oh, I haven't heard that song forever.
Dude, you know me, man. I'm all about the first album, dude. That self-titled shit, dude, is like the best album. That was like my whole life at that time, you know?
Yeah, we did a lot. We had adventures.
Yeah, man, I'm telling you what, like, I was actually trying to look. You can sit over here. I was actually trying to look and see if I had anything in the archives. But, unfortunately, they wiped everything off of fucking MySpace. So, like, literally can't even access it, because that's where it would all be. It would all be on MySpace somewhere, dude. Like, but I had shows from the Muff Cave or pictures from the Muff Cave and everything.
Yeah,
dude, like,
I don't have any pictures of that.
I'm gonna find them, dude, because I know they exist somewhere, man. And like I said, I mean, like me and my own personal feelings, but like for you guys to have that record of that, dude, because I'm telling you what, like when I think of the Antipsychotics, I think about like your basement, and I think about that trip to New York City, dude. That like was the greatest, most miserable, fantastic trip.
It was the one time that we go up to New York City, and it's the worst weather New York City has ever seen.
They said it was the worst snowstorm, right, that they had gotten like that early in the season, that early in the fucking year.
Yeah.
Oh my god, and it was fucking brutal. All right, so I'll do the quick intro real quick. Sitting down here with someone I've known for a long time, Eric Johns, the lead singer and lead guitar player of the Antipsychotics. Welcome to the cellar, man. Happy to have you here.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me.
Hell yeah, dude. So yeah, dude, I was actually just, kind of reminiscing a little bit about like the group Sex Poets and, the Sucker Punch Thompsons.
Yeah, the
Dinosaurs.
Sucker Punch Thompsons, holy shit. What do they call that? Club
North
NV.
Vandergrift, dude. NV.
Club NV, North Vandergrift. There was a lot of fun up there.
That's what I think is like, that's punk rock by definition. You know what I mean? Again, like just people chipping together to fucking make something happen locally.
And completely DIY in a rural area that really didn't have anything for people that age to do.
Well, and like just the scene alone, like I said, like, cause I mean, there's, opportunities to play live music and stuff places, but that was like by the bands and for the bands. You know what I mean? That wasn't overseen by some venue or something. I mean, like these guys literally just chipped in, I believe, on rent on this, like, I'm talking gritty. Like I said, I know I have pictures of it somewhere. I might be able to put them in here later on, but like just, I mean, that place, the fucking walls were spray painted. I mean, like it was like everything you would imagine of punk rock fucking heaven.
Punk rock beautiful.
And like I just remember, like I could picture that bathroom in there, dude. Just how many pisses I stood in there, fucking wasted, just like looking at all this shit on the walls, stickers and signatures and fucking just graffiti, like, and just hearing the music out, and like you literally would just be in a swarm of people, just all there for the same reason.
Yeah, and they drew a nice crowd there, and they met a lot of people up.
Oh, I grinded on a lot of sweaty dudes in those places.
Yeah.
In the most heterosexual way.
Yeah. The magic of the rock and roll venue, right?
Yeah.
We'll cram you in here like
Dude,
this, right? You're
you,
spooning with each other.
And that's, I mean, it's like, I might not even know you, you know? I mean, but like, we're sharing sweat. We're fucking sharing, a lot of feelings, man. It's a good time, man. Like, if you don't experience live music, especially, like I said, it's different when you're in a big venue and you're more spread out and there's a big stage and the band's up there. But like, when we're talking a punk rock show, in most cases, it's so intimate to where like the band is as close to me as the drink. You know what I mean? Like, I can be right there.
Oh, yeah.
And there's just nothing like about being, like I said, like, I don't even remember at that New York City show, I'm pretty sure that I got like behind the drums at some set. I was like fucking wandering through. I was probably interrupting the show a little bit. Like I think it was during the Tide for Last set.
That was a great time though.
Dude, and the struggle to get there, I mean, like, so take us back a little bit. So I'm sure, because you were the responsible one out of all of us, so I think you were the one that had the van, right?
Yeah.
So take us through that. So you got a van and you got a couple bands, and how did you link up with Brian Defiance, and how did you end up?
I think, and memory is unfortunately not what we want it to be, especially when you're living that rock and roll lifestyle, But I believe I played with him through other bands down in Pittsburgh.
Okay.
And then I believe, you exchange contact information, and it's like, yeah, we'll bring you up to New York, and totally took him up on that offer. And so what we had the group Sex Poets and the Anti-Psychotics making that trip, I
Yeah.
believe. And so you meet Brian. I think probably met him through Aaron Zeman,
Oh, see, I don't know him, but
but he plays drums in the Crooked Cobras
mm.
and Bottle Rat right now. Um, I don't recall what he would have been doing at that time. It's hard to say.
Well, that's probably the best part about it is like, getting out there and networking with people. Because again, like I really would have never even assumed that like they would have come down to Pittsburgh. But obviously, there's only so many few hot spots, for that kind of music and for that kind of, you know, I guess entry level into the music scene. But like as far as I understood at the time, right, like the Bloody Muffs and them guys, they were, I mean, pretty big part of the New York City punk scene, right? I mean, like that was a pretty big honor to be able to go up there and do that.
Well, he's done a lot more with his music than what I think I've done. And so, that's it's definitely it makes you feel good to be able to meet with these people and participate in
Well,
shows
especially if
with
it's
them.
someone that you look up to or you respect.
You know, I
you
have a
know,
really badass record compilation where the Bloody Muffs are on them, and it's like there's some really great
no
bands
shit.
on these compilation records, and it's like, so you got to. I think of it like you shared a stage with this individual,
Right.
right? And that's kind of like an intimate experience for me to say like, okay, so I shared a stage with the Crooked Cobras. I shared a stage with all these other bands, and it's hard for me to think of them like on the spot. But
Well, I know like one of the big ones that I remember was like TSOL. You guys opened up for them, right? I
yeah, that
believe
was
that
a
was the
great
Ultra Bar. Was
experience.
that the Ultra Bar? Am I remembering
Yeah,
that correctly?
yeah,
Another great show, which again, I mean, they've been ingrained in punk rock, I think, what, since the 80s or something like that.
yeah. Actually, one of my favorite bands.
Right.
Really, I love TSOL, and so yeah, we got to open up for them. And that's one of them deals we're doing, like, you sign up and they give you tickets to sell, and that. I don't think it was so much pay to play, but
Right. I mean,
uh
hey, either way, it's still like, again, like you said, for you in your own personal journey, I mean, like you got to share a stage with someone that not only you respect, but someone that you're genuinely a fan of. Like, you'd be happy just to be in the show as a fan, but you get to set up, you're in the fucking green room, you're back there, you know what I mean? Like, and you're on the same playing field as them. I mean, that's a whole other existence. That would be like me, tattooing with like Paul Booth or something. You know what I mean? Someone that's like really ingrained in my kind of evolution as an artist, and
yeah.
someone that I listened to growing up and said, you know what, that's kind of how I want to look or sound or, like, so I definitely like am envious of you because again, like I said, like, I mean, we talk about even like, there's Rick Agnew, another name drop,
Yeah, I
right?
met him, yeah, over in California. And so, yeah, you get to meet these people and share a stage with them, and it's an adventure, and it's something I think maybe I take for granted a little bit because, you know, I did that. That's pretty cool.
Well, and very few people will ever get the chance, or even have the confidence to even try because that's usually the hardest thing. Like, I was actually just explaining to them, it's like, I mean, in all the time that I've known you, I don't think I've ever like actually sat down and talked to you about like, your start in playing guitar. I mean, how old were you when you started playing guitar? I mean, did you aspire to obviously play punk rock and did you ever think that you'd be here now doing this and have that kind of on your resume?
Yeah, I don't think that it was it was the goal to do something. I don't think that at first I was into punk rock music.
Oh, really?
I think when I first started out, I was listening to a lot of alt rock, Smashing Pumpkins, and I think I listened to the Ramones and Social D. I met Sean McDonald somewhere in like
See,
eighth grade or somewhere like that. And he started introducing me into all this punk rock. And I was
wow.
like, some of the songs you'd be familiar with, you're like, oh, I know that one, yeah. But then you're finding a lot of new music through your friend,
Right.
and you're starting to relate to it more. you're like, okay, alternative rock was cool, but this music really resonates.
Kind of speaks to you a little more.
This is something that is more like the words and the melodies and everything. You just really identify with it.
Right.
Where, I go back and I listen to Pumpkins and I have some of this nostalgic kind of like, yeah, okay, but it's like your lyrics were a little too vague, and you know what I mean? It's
Isn't
like,
it fucking awesome now? Like, I mean, because like again, you're a singer, you're a songwriter. I mean, you might not have had the most, you know, you might not be able to compare your career to some of these guys, but at the same time, now you can look like, well, I know the process a little bit. Well, like, yeah, your lyrics, you could have maybe opened up a little bit more. Maybe you could have done something differently, So I like that because again, like, it's not good to necessarily have an ego, but it's cool to be able to, like I said, now that you know the inner workings of that process, to say, well, because I'll trying to think of what would be relatable. Like, I mean, I guess even when I listen to music, sometimes when I listen to lyrics, I'm like, I can't believe that they thought of those lyrics and then thought it was such a good idea or a good line that they wrote it down. Then they recorded that, and
yeah.
now it's out. It's like, man, like the way that it's said or the way that it's put out there, it's like, man, like you had so many opportunities to maybe do that better.
Uh,
It's like I'm not a songwriter or anything like that. I have no clout. I can't criticize anybody, but at the same time, it's like to break it down and to know the process. It's like, well, if I was writing music, I'd be, I think I'd be saying a little bit more, or maybe saying it a little bit differently. So it's cool because, like, again, you loved that at the time, but look at how you've grown, and now you've seen it. Like, well, I want to do things a little bit differently.
and I definitely think just in the creation process, I mean, if music is your creation, uh, you do start when you're listening to a song, you start thinking like, I would have liked to have done this there, where they didn't. And I don't know if you get like that when you're looking at someone's tattoo, but you'll
Hmm.
look at a tattoo and maybe you'll say, "Oh, I would have maybe added a different color here, or
Absolutely.
done
Well,
this, or done that."
even with composition, usually what it comes down to is like placement. I'm like, man, I would have maybe, you could have maybe made that look better by maybe shifting it a little bit or maybe putting it in a different position. Like there's a lot of things that I look at. It's like,
And that's
boy,
something I wouldn't have even thought of, like the position of the piece. But yeah, now that you say that,
well,
that's really
when
important.
you look at like the body is your canvas or that's your piece of paper, it's like you got to look at the whole composition. I get hung up making the hook real good, but if the verses don't carry that, then it ain't shit. You know what I mean? So it's the same thing on paper or on a body.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting because again, I could do a beautiful tattoo, but if it's in a position that doesn't complement that, it's not going to look as good as it could have. And again, you can always second guess yourself, but once it's out there, it's not yours anymore.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
like I've fallen in love with this band called the Lost Dog Street Band, and again, more like folk style lyrics, but this guy's like been through prison, drug addiction and stuff. So like the music is so raw, and like to listen to it, I don't care what the genre is. If I can feel something when I listen to it, then I like it. And like his just whole process between it is just really neat. What was I saying? I lost my.
I think that we're talking about sincerity,
Yeah.
right? It's like the person has to,
Oh,
if
mm,
your music, you want it to be sincere.
that's what it was. Is that um, they sat down for a little interview after one of his songs that they had played. It was another one of these raw music shit that I listened to. But they had said like write very personal songs, and like it's hard to get through that. And once you record it and you put it out there, it's not even yours anymore. To kind of attach those feelings to it because everybody that listens to that or looks at it's going to interpret it in a different way, and therefore it's like I said, it's like it's not yours anymore. You've created that, you've worked through it, and now you've given it away and put it out there, and theoretically you should be able to move on. And it kind of probably lifts some weight off your shoulders a little bit once you're through it. I'm sure music's like that more than art, just because you're using your words, and you're expressing yourself differently. Music's got to be a tough one to put out there. I'm sure there's a lot that you.
I think for me, I think sometimes I can put so much of myself into it that sometimes I take a look at it and I think, did I make it too personal? Like, can people psychoanalyze me by listening to this song?
Oh, right.
And in a lot of situations, I think you can because I'm that sincere. I'm actually, I don't even say, okay, I'm going to write a song about this. What I do is I fiddle fart with my guitar, and when I have a melody that I like, I say, okay, that's a nice melody. How does it make me feel? and then I write words
Wow.
to the chord progression. I would say.
That's interesting. See, and me not knowing really anything about that process, I would have never thought that that's how you would do it. You know, you would always think like literally we would just write the song and then you figure out how that sounds in your head.
Well,
you
I
know?
think that's what a lot of people do, but that's never been my approach to it.
That's
You
interesting.
know, I guess in a way, I feel like you gotta have the background, and then you put the words over it. So I get a catchy tune that I like, and then I try to figure out, well, how does that make me feel?
Right. Awesome, man. So, like, you started out listening to Smashing Pumpkins. You met Sean McDonald with Sean McDonald, group Sex Poets. What did he play? Was he
He was guitar.
guitar and he did vocals too a little
He
bit?
was always guitar, but then it's one of them things where you start branching out, and I think that he could do a little drums, he could do a little
Well,
bass.
and I'm sure I met him much later after you did. But again, just when you meet people that are just kind of talented, I guess, just where they're naturally gifted, right? I mean, like I've seen him fiddle around with a lot of different things, and again, their sound very unique. And like I always appreciated his mind and his thought. He's a very interesting character. I had no idea that you'd known him, for a long period of time before that. That's kind of cool that he's the reason you kind of got into this lane.
I think he
Um,
helped pull me that way, and then I met Ian later, much later, So, there was Sean, and then I start growing into this punk mindset. A lot of social distortion, a lot of Bad Religion, the very popular acts.
right.
But then once you get going, and then what I think of it is like you start digging back. You start digging back, and then you're listening to like the Dead Boys and the Saints,
And
and
were you
like
playing guitar at this time?
yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's back when I was just starting out. But,
Okay.
right away when I was playing guitar, I mean, right away it was like I am doing this to write music. And so you'd learn just enough chords to put a song together,
Right.
you know.
Right.
And
What was the
and
first song you learned? Do you remember?
1979 by the Pumpkins was an early one. Bullet with Butterfly Wings.
Nice.
I learned a lot of Bush songs.
Cool, man. Yeah,
you
that's
know, alt rock type stuff that you would have heard on the Revolution or 105.9 The X.
yeah, the good old days
growing
of
up.
fucking radio. Yeah, I
When
don't.
radio, when you would, I would
Yeah.
sit there and I would have a blank cassette tape, and you'd wait for the song you like to come on, and then you'd hit record, right?
Man, I miss making mixtapes, dude. I almost forgot about that.
Yeah.
Boy, has the music industry changed. Like I almost know that I would probably prefer it the old way. Like, I mean, I love that, digital reach and all this stuff. You can get your music in the hands of anybody at any given moment now. But I
But
really miss the hard
at
copy.
the same time, it kind of takes some of the value of it because it's so easily attainable. Where you used to have to search for music and discover it, but now it's all you need's a reference and you can
Right.
pull it up and $10 download an album. But I think that I saw an interview with David Bowie, and they were asking him what he thought about the internet, and he said this is going to totally change everything. He said this is, it's going to take the container that you're marketing your product in, and it's going to completely change it.
Right.
And he was right. It's like
Yeah.
I not a
it
fan.
it definitely what I would call like almost like diluted the whole industry, and like I think about then versus now how like you used to have a band that would work towards, putting together a good album, and it's like now everything's singles, everything's EPs, everything's just a digital download, quick release. Like most artists don't even fucking hold on to individual songs to put an album together anymore. Like everything seems like it's single releases, then eventually they put it all together.
I think it's kind of like that immediate gratification.
People don't want to wait anymore. Everybody wants the instant, like, and
Yeah.
again, I think that obviously that creates less time and energy into putting in like good quality into the stuff as opposed to just trying to get whatever you can out now. We got somebody that can, lay a track over this and somebody could fucking provide the lyrics and I don't have to do much but to put them together, because I'm sure that a lot of these songs like probably got ghostwriters and they're just, releasing them for a check, like because I have a hard time believing. I mean, and granted, this is like we're talking mainstream music. There's a lot of bands out there still doing it the right way. Like look at like Tool. I watched a recent interview with him, and he actually deeply regrets not allowing any of their music to be put onto platforms and digital, whatever releases for YouTube and stuff, because what he realizes is that there's like two generations of people that don't even know who Tool is, because those two generations have consumed their music through digital platforms their whole life, as opposed to going to a record store or going to a CD store or something like.
I see.
So it's like, boy, if I'm searching the internet, I'm never going to get a song by Tool on Spotify or, nothing. So it's like they just completely didn't exist to a whole generation of people, which sucks because I'm telling you what, boy, what is there anybody making music like that right now? I mean, like his music that he's produced for Tool and A Perfect Circle both are just like uncomparable to anything.
A real big
Yeah.
fan of Perfect Circle, and I liked a lot of Tool stuff too. And I liked a lot. I liked him as a performer, so I didn't know that he actually wasn't letting his stuff on the digital platform. But I'm not a fan of the digital platform. But it's like we've come to a period in the music where it is oversaturated. I think because anybody can get a home recording set up. Me, for example,
Right.
and I can upload all of my music onto some platform.
Well,
It's out
really
there,
any
you know.
platform, honestly,
I think we're on Spotify. The Antipsychotics are on Spotify. We're
That's
on.
what I'm playing you on right now, actually. I'm
Okay.
hoping you get some royalties from it.
Yeah.
Who gets that check?
I think it's
Jeff?
like 0.00000000001% of a cent anytime someone streams it. Like it's ridiculous.
Oh
But
my god.
but that's free advertisement for someone who's a do-it-yourself guy who doesn't
Well,
have a budget to really market your product and
right.
get likes or get a show. All my shows are gotten through word of mouth and meeting people.
One on your good reputation and your skill and talent, which is how it used to be. Like I said, like I hate that, like online, like I don't even have a band, don't play an instrument. I could make a band page tomorrow. I could pay for a blue check mark that says I'm a verified account. I could go buy 5,000 subscribers or followers or whatever. I could buy all this shit. I could fake it all day and I could probably get shows booked and everything. Like
Hmm.
they'd probably be booking me for shows and never even heard a single thing I ever made. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like they look at sometimes like the follower count, all this stuff. It's like when it comes down to it, it's like realistically, like raw talent kind of took a back seat, to people just having access or having the right equipment or having the right connection to put it out there. Which granted we, taking advantage of it right now. Like we talked about as you walked in. It's like I love the age of this new independent media. The fact that again tomorrow, if I decided to turn this into a recording studio, I could, and we could have a fucking YouTube page and all of this stuff. We could be on Spotify. Black City Records, Mind Seller Records, and I could put on a bunch of artists and we could record it here ourselves. We could put it out ourselves and we wouldn't have to pay a manager, marketing guy. Um, I'm sure that whenever it comes down to it, because I think that most people entry level have that same situation where you get the pre-sale stipulation, right? Because I was just talking to him about this too. I was talking to Billy Kilgore. And I was like, oh my God, I fucking remember running up and down the street in Pittsburgh, dude, out there hustling tickets, dude, because if you don't sell so many tickets, you don't get to play.
Yeah.
And like, is that right? I mean, is that, how does that work?
I always just told them like, listen, we don't have cloud like these guys. Like, you need a band to open, we'll do it. We certainly didn't sell 50 tickets at TSOL.
It's like, man, I don't even know 50 people.
I
You know,
don't.
especially when like all the homies get a free ticket. It's like like all of our friends that helped us set up the fucking show and helped us load the van. They're not buying a ticket. So everybody
Yeah.
I know is getting in for free. So literally me and Bill Kilgore out there, and like when they found out about it, they were pissed, dude. Like the people at the door selling tickets because we're selling them cheaper. You have the option to sell them cheaper because you're selling them pre-sale. So we're literally out there trying to sell the quota so that these guys can fucking play. I mean, it was awesome. Man. Like, I mean, like I literally wouldn't trade those moments for nothing. Like I said, there's nothing like being in the van with 15 sweaty dudes and a bunch of equipment, and on the way to a show, and and just hang up after hang up. Like that's what makes you who you are.
It's an adventure, and there's shared emotion there, and it's a great experience. I've been to New York and Ohio, Cleveland, Spitfire Saloon. I don't even know if that place is around anymore.
Where did you guys play in California? Was it the
We
Dollhouse?
played at a place called the Doll Hut.
Doll Hut, but that's a famous place, right? That's not just a
A lot of people played there, from what I understand.
yeah,
Like Green Day, Social Distortion would just do like a secret show there, go play
right,
there. It's maybe where I heard of where people were starting out. You could play there.
right. It's a very very small, intimate little place, right?
It was small. It was very small. And then Rick did actually come to our show, and I'm a terribly shy person.
Oh, that's gotta be like
And so it's like you really don't know what to say. It's kind of like, and you kind of like cheese out a little bit and go run and hide somewhere
and you
drink your
guys
beer.
played a full anti-psychotic set and a sweaty ball bag set, right? Did he play a sweaty ball bag
Ian
set?
doubled up. Yeah, yeah. And
Unreal.
he was double dipping, but he got that set up, because he had lived out there for a while and he had friends, and
I
so
mean, what a
again,
cool
word by
experience.
mouth, and it was like if you were to take a vacation to the beach, but I took a vacation to play a show.
Well,
So
and I mean, like I said, just to even be in the same room as Rick, and to have him at your show and to be able to play essentially for him. I mean, just one of those things. Again, I mean, that's something that 90% of people are never going to get to experience that.
I think I take that for granted too. That was an adventure that I had. I was
And
very close with him. I could have like actually had a conversation if I was outgoing enough to have a conversation with
it's scary,
somebody.
dude. It is.
uh,
And even just documenting it, because again, I mean, I've met a lot of people that again, I wanted to like scream up and down and fangirl and all this stuff, but like you want to play it cool. You don't want to be a fucking nerd. You don't want to be a
yeah.
douchebag. So it's like, man, but I wish I would have just for a moment, just to get a picture. Because I mean, to be able to say, oh yeah, I fucking met, Anthony Napolitan, or I met, I mean, even like, I mean, Ben Snowden, he's a pro BMX rider from decades ago, man. He was my landlord. Literally signed his lease. You know what I mean? Like, I
Uh,
wish I had that motherfucking piece of paper. I mean, just because, again, like those things, I mean, that's something that I'm probably one of the only few people that can say. I mean, a lot of people lived at Ben's house, but again, like in my fucking inner circle of people, I mean, like, it's something that you should be proud of for sure, because
mm.
again, you might not consider yourself outgoing, but you could have easily said, I'm not going to California. You know what I mean? Like you went, and you did it.
And the music has done so much for my self image and just really been something that I could have some confidence in, and allowed me to do things. It's really my thing. It's without it, I don't know what I am
Right. It
or
is
what
kind of
I'm
your
doing.
identity, and it's cool that I mean, again, without that, who knows what path maybe you would have been on, but you obviously would have probably leaned harder into the maybe being your anxiety, or maybe your social anxiety or something like that. But because your love for music, it allowed you to kind of shed that fear and branch out and do something that most people, like I said, that have those fears would have never even taken the first step. They'd sit in their room and play guitar and be happy by themselves, because some people are afraid to just post a video on Facebook for people to see it, let alone go out and play a show. You know what I mean? So, like, I mean, that is literally probably what gave you every bit of confidence to do everything that you do. You
And I
know?
think you're fortunate enough to get in with the right crowd, right? A band's not just one person. A band takes four people, but you get in with the crowd that you actually do well enough that people enjoy it. And so I've had positive experiences there, right? And
So, actually, this is something I never asked you either. Was the Antipsychotics your first band?
no.
No. Okay. Interesting. So, was Sean involved? I mean, like, kind of maybe take me through that.
The first band experience I think was a talent show in high school,
No
just
shit.
just covering some Sex Pistols
But even
songs.
that takes a
Uh,
lot of courage. I
and
wish I'd have done the talent show.
and then so you did that, and then there was the Rust Belt Junkies, and Sean was in that, and Dan and a couple other people. I wasn't an original member of that though. I was asked in after a while, and then there was the Garbage Pail Punks.
I do remember a little bit of that. Obviously, never seen you guys play, but I do remember the name.
So that was pretty cool. Chad, my I met him. He was a great guy. He passed away, but yeah, that was a great band. I had a lot of fun. That was the first band that went to the city to play shows.
Okay, so like that's your first experience, like feeling like you're touring and you're going out and playing shows. Like
Going
that's
out and playing shows. We were 21-ish, we were allowed to play in bars, and so we were playing at like the Smiling Moose and stuff.
oh
And
no shit.
at that time, the stage was really small, and it was underneath the steps. There's like 2 floors to it,
Wow,
and like you could only fit like 2 people on the stage,
what
but
a trip.
people would try to cram up
I didn't
there.
even know that they ever did live music there. Like, cause again, pretty small joint, like, but that's fucking cool, man. What was I gonna ask you? So were you always singing, or were you just playing guitar at first? Were you doing vocals and stuff?
I think I always wanted to sing. I think that when I started out, like I said, I'd write like these emo little pop songs sitting on the edge of my bed, and then you start getting in with bands, and I think a lot of times at first it was somebody else's idea,
Well, I
and,
know
and
that.
so they would sing a lot, other people would sing. I think I didn't really start singing until the Antipsychotics,
Okay.
and that was my sort of idea, was that, okay, Antipsychotics, the music is your antipsychotic, right?
Hmm.
And that's the idea of that. And you're through music, you're able to really put a lot of your emotion and your anger and your anxiety, any emotion really. All music is emotional,
Right.
and so by putting that in there, it's almost like a therapy, right?
Oh, and it's just like we're doing here. I say it all the time. It's like this podcast has become like a little bit of a therapy session for me too, because just kind of getting that out there. I might be carrying around some weight, some frustration, but I sit down and have a conversation. It's like, boy, afterwards, I've got a clear mind, boy. I feel good. Like it really is a therapy session at the end of the day, and I'm sure you feel the same way. You get out there and you're able to fucking be loud and express yourself, and even if nobody knows really what the root of that song is, what I mean, like you're able to put that out there and again, like kind of give it away and release that.
Yeah, and I think, and I could give you an exact example of it, but I'm pretty sure everyone, like you said, they get their own interpretation of music. Different things mean different things to other people depending on where they come from. But just to put it out there, and I think be in the environment and that group polarization, and to be around like-minded people who are just happy to share positive energy with you. I'm
And
turned it a little
supportive.
bit into a hippie, right? I think a lot positive and negative energy.
Yeah, but it's all, and then I feel the same way. It's like, I sound like a loon, but it's like energy. You know what I mean? Like to be around the right people, because again, my self confidence might be prohibiting me from really like maybe putting my 100% into singing or playing. But if I'm around other people that are like, hey man, that sounds really good, or like, hey man, like you're doing that, I'm gonna do this to compliment it. Your confidence level goes up. Now you're able to really put yourself in there. So I think it's interesting that you really didn't have the opportunity to sing in the other two bands, which I would know that like even if I thought I could sing really well, it would be scary to enter into a situation and say, hey, I can sing, I want to be the singer, I'm gonna do lead vocals. Like they'd be like, okay, show me what you got, and then the pressure's on and maybe I'll dump it because of the pressure. So like I kind of like that you kind of let it wait a little bit. You know what I mean? Like you get into your own and you find the right people.
Mm.
Because again, when I think of your sound, I think of that first album, Anti-Psychotics, man. Like, and you probably cringe to listen to some of that stuff.
I think now I do a little bit because I think we could do better.
Always.
We rushed it. It's like you say, you rush it out. You want that immediate gratification. And I think when we first got the band together, it's just about getting songs so that we can play. Just hurry up, get these songs done, and let's go play. And then as you develop as a band, you take your time and you start really orchestrating songs. And so the later album is the one that I really like.
But especially too, like finding your sound too, because again, like you said, it's not just you. You might write something that you think is absolute gold, but if the other three guys in the band are like, yeah, I don't know, I mean, it doesn't really represent us. It's not the Eric John show. We gotta be a unit. And like I like that, like Ian has been a songwriter, for a long time. I'm sure that like that probably opened you up to like say, hey, I was thinking about this and I was writing this. What do you think? Because I liked that on your album you had like some of Ian's songs that he wrote on there. You had songs that you wrote on there, like so it was like a real collaboration as opposed to a band where the lead singer writes all the songs and here's your script and here's what we're doing. Like it's got to be almost like a family. Everybody's got to be on the same page.
And that's definitely the way I look at it. It's you want this to withstand time, everyone has to have flow. Everyone has to have enough challenge in the project and enough input in the project where it stays interesting for them.
Right.
If I'm telling you all what to do, then eventually there's going to be like, well, I'm not creating. It's all
Right.
about creating. And so really what I do is I come up with your main chord progression. I might have a solo. I might have a, if I'm writing a song, I have lyrics. But then I present that to them, and then they write their parts.
Oh, cool.
And I there's definitely been times where you take that piece to them, and you can just tell right away. It's like, oh, this isn't
Not feeling
working.
it, right.
This isn't working. It's like everyone just kind of hesitates a little bit when you want to play it, and it's like,
But see,
okay.
that's why I always liked watching the practices, because I enjoy the process the same amount as I do the final product. So I liked being in there and hearing guys, maybe mess it up or not get it right the first time, or have to really work through it to be able to get in sync, and I don't remember exactly who all was around, but I remember, like, I mean, multiple times even too, like, even like maybe some night Jeff's not there, and you got somebody else playing the drums and shit, like it was just cool to be around. Like I talk about all the time, just to be around creative individuals and people that were all kind of in on the same goal, and wanted to create something together, because again, you couldn't do it by yourself. You need that other input, and you need that other energy and support, like it's probably the coolest thing about the band, like I said, because everybody kind of has to work together. And like to talk about Tool and what's his name, fucking James Keener, like they go like 10 years before putting out an album, and he was on that podcast and talking about like just the process, and it's like to have all those band members agree that it's ready, and that it sounds the way that it should, and that they're all happy with it. It's like it takes 10 years for us all to get on the same page because they're all so picky. And so, just care so much about the quality of what they're putting out that they're not just trying to produce a bunch of shit, like and unfortunately for the fans, like we wait decades literally to hear new music from him, but when you hear it, you really do appreciate the time it takes to put it together because it's
And that's
amazing.
very intricate music, you know. And I'm more from the old school Ramones,
Right.
verse, chorus, second verse, same as the first. And
Is that a
really,
normal structure? So what is that? Verse, chorus, verse. Say it again.
like for me, a normal song structure would be verse, chorus, maybe like a lead part, and then another chorus,
Okay.
like a very fundamental, that's like your basic song structure, I would say.
Okay. And see.
When you listen to like some of that Tool stuff, there's like a long intro, and then you do
Right.
this, and like it's more intricate, more of an orchestration almost.
Right. Yeah, I never really thought about that, but I often, I think of songs or ideas for songs when I'm filling around and stuff, and it's like I really don't even know how like you go about putting that together. Do you write the chorus first, and then but you explained it a little bit how you start with essentially a melody, and kind of build off of that.
I start with a melody, and I think a lot of times the hook will come to you first. Like maybe I'll start at the chorus, I'll get a good chorus, and then I'll build a verse to go around the chorus.
Right.
The chorus is kind of like your thesis statement. That's kind of
Right.
like what am I trying to say here? What do I
Right.
want to repeat to them over and over and over again? And then kind of build off of that. Well, how do I color it? How do I describe
Right.
this idea?
Yeah, that's an interesting way. Like I said, I mean, to look at it that way, it makes a hell of a lot more sense. When you break stuff down like that, man. Like, I never really was able to, figure it out. Like I said, because you would imagine there would be essentially a formula, but at the same time, with creativity and art, there's no rules. I mean, just like Tool. I mean, you could fucking mix it up any way you want. But yeah, I always liked the style of that. If you think about like Social Distortion and stuff like that, just the structure of their songs and stuff. Like I've always appreciated that style. Like, Tool is just so different. But
Yeah,
like
it's
I could,
more artistic.
that's what I was gonna say. I could put on Tool and not really have to listen to it. You know what I mean? It's like almost like my background music.
Yeah, it
While I'm doing
creates a
something else.
mood almost.
Yeah, it's like I've even played around with like tattooing to like cinematic music, things like that. I mean, I've even tattooed to um Puccini, like some fucking orchestra stuff, you know what I mean? Some like Beethoven style stuff, you know what I mean? Just to like, because you can almost forget that it's music and you're just in this moment, and you're really just kind of acting on, just feeling, and it's kind of interesting. Like I said, I mean, to be painting or tattooing or something to where I don't really have to be vacant in the real world, that it's beautiful for tuning out, or to a lot of that stuff with Tool, I don't even have to listen to the lyrics, but A Perfect Circle kind of has a different vibe all entirely, like it's cool that he's like a Rubik's Cube, man. Like he's got so much shit.
I really like Perfect Circle. I always like the mood.
They don't
Um,
they don't make music for A Perfect Circle anymore. Has he put anything out for them?
he's got like 3 or more bands, maybe. I mean, he just does projects. It's almost a project at that point, right?
Right.
Like you're just doing whatever, and then members. It's like I feel like that was the beginning of the super bands, right? Where we're bringing in all of these studio musicians from all these different
Right.
projects, and
Well, to be someone like him, though, I mean, like, I guess I get it, like, I kind of got my hands in a little bit of everything, like, you can't just really just do one thing if you're that kind of person, like,
and now it's like, how much do you have to sell to make a living
that
on it,
too.
right? Because of this, it's all
Well, and
so accessible.
even a band like that, I wonder, like, what he's really making on, like, a royalty or, because it's not like they're getting a ton of radio play or, for, a band that's not a Taylor Swift or a mainstream artist, like, I wonder really just how much money he's actually making from direct sales and shit. Probably not very much.
I don't know how anybody really makes it. Music's not really that expensive if you're getting it off of there.
Well, I pay Spotify, and essentially then my music is free. I could even download it to play it offline, so I have no reason to ever go buy a physical CD or
And
an album.
Spotify isn't even paying the big names.
Well,
Weird Al Yankovic made a comment about getting enough money from 2 million views to buy a ham sandwich.
oh my god.
You know?
And you can write it off all you want, as silly as he is, but that's probably not far off from a fucking, the truth.
Yeah.
As sad as it is, because I actually wanted to talk to you about that, because I mean, you guys have been on Spotify for a while, and I know that, like, I mean, I remember talking to like Jeff about getting your stuff put on platforms like that, and never really understanding like how much of that does the artist actually see. Like, you're getting the benefit of the exposure, and I love to be able to say like, hey, check out my friend's band, and when you say it's on Spotify, it instantly legitimizes your music and who you are and what you're doing, as opposed to like check out his Facebook video or something like that, where anybody can do that, which, it's a little bit sad, because I have been looking into it before, because now with the podcast, I can put the podcast on Spotify and same thing, be paid for the views. But Spotify is the most ruthless out of all of them. Out of all of these streaming platforms, Spotify pays the artist the least out of all of them.
I've never gotten anything from
And it's the
Spotify.
biggest platform.
And I think that I've made maybe $50 off of online sales, and that was through Bandcamp or like iTunes.
Right.
I
And
think
see,
we're on
so I have
iTunes.
Bandcamp pulled up here, which you don't have to even do anything with that. But so like with Bandcamp, and I remember like SoundCloud, stuff like that, you actually do see a residual from plays there.
If you buy a download off of Bandcamp, I get that money instantly, pretty much. It just directly goes into my PayPal.
Did they take a percentage?
They take a percentage, though sometimes they'll do like a Bandcamp Fridays where they won't charge anything. And
Wow.
so,
Let me know when those days come around. I'll fucking tell everybody to download on those.
Well, honestly, if people want to check us out and get into my music, it's for free. Like, just go on there and download it, and I'll feel cool if I
Right.
see a download. And really, I only look at that as marketing for me to get a show or for me to get your ass to the one show that I do have.
Right.
You
Well,
know.
and from like my standpoint, like that's like your portfolio essentially. I mean, your Spotify discography, your Bandcamp stuff, like, so that's your portfolio. Whenever I'm talking about the Antipsychotics or any of your music, like, I love it. I can just pull it up, and I can play them stuff. I mean, like, from the last 10 years, 20 years or whatever. Like, so
Yeah, we've been together for over 10 years.
it's awesome, dude. And like, I know that, with any band, obviously you go through little phases to where, like, everybody's kind of got their own things going on, because again, it's not just one person. There's, usually, 4 or 5 people that have 4 or 5 different lives and got shit going on, and bands go through different phases, like, you're not still you're not original members, right? Jeff's not
We've replaced Jeff, and I don't even remember how that all worked out, but I think he just kind of phased himself out.
Well, I mean,
And
again, people, families and kids and stuff. It's like not
life
everybody,
happens,
not
right?
everybody can live the rock and roll lifestyle forever. Especially like I said, like some people look at, wow, it's not paying my bills. I'm not going to waste my time on it. Other people, like I said, you would do it tooth and nail, even if you weren't making any money at all. You're still going to produce music. Like that's who you are. So that's where it essentially like, I tell people all the time, like, if I was a millionaire and didn't need to work, I would still tattoo. I would still fucking do tattoos, and I would do them for free.
Eh,
Like I'd have a fucking line wrapped around my shop all day. I would be in there whenever I felt like it, waking up and getting in there. Open the door, I'd tattoo as many as I could, and then whenever I'm tired, I would just lock it up, close it down. The next day we'd be in there, it'd just be free tattoos all day long, as many as I could do. Like, cause I love to do it, and like whether it was paying my bills or making me a dollar, I would still find a way to do it, So like, I think that makes and breaks a lot of people. If you're not seeing the instant result or you're not seeing the instant success, they're gonna,
I feel successful just by doing it. And I think the creation process is what I like the most. I like recording and I like producing.
right.
I have my own recording set up, and I think that's my favorite part of it is just to create it. And I get that gratification by
The
creating.
process, yeah.
And so I really think I do that probably until the day I die. I don't want to ever change, and I think that when I can't do it, I'm going to be pretty down. That would be terrible.
Well, thankfully, I mean, longevity, what it would come down to, like hands and your voice, So I mean, at least for the most part, you probably got
Yeah,
a
I
lot of
think the
years left in
voice
you,
is the first thing that usually goes
probably.
unless you smash up your fingers.
But start taking treatments now, you know what I mean? Like start drinking some honey, whatever you got to do. I'm sure there's all kinds of stuff that you could do that, just to like little preventatives and stuff like that. But yeah, I think that, in all honesty, dude, like it's just who you are, and I seen something the other day that was speaks to that exactly. Is it's like, you have to enjoy the work and the process, not just the final product, because unfortunately if you don't do the work, you're never going to get that final product. So it's like, if you truly do love it, you got to find a way to love the work and the effort that you got to put in, because unfortunately it's not going to happen without it.
You have to appreciate there's a time investment there,
And you got to get your
right?
head under your own ass,
Yeah.
because I'm sure you record something, you're like, scrap it, like sometimes you just got to keep just, understanding the process, like that's part of it. It's the only way to get better, honestly, is to fail, multiple times and to not make it.
Yeah, and really, I think I just throw stuff out there sometimes, and like I don't even have the idea for the song, right? I just start doing something. I just make that effort to do something
Right.
and just build off of it. And sometimes it goes somewhere and sometimes it doesn't,
Well, and I've listened to comedians even talk about that too, how like sometimes their process of like writing a bit or writing a joke is really just writing, and they'll kind of just sit at their computer and just kind of dump thoughts, and you might write for an hour and might not come out with anything funny at all. I mean, it might just be a throwaway, but at the same time, there might be one line in that ends up materializing into something bigger, and if you don't take that first step to just kind of dump it all out on the canvas and put it all in front of you, you're never going to be able to sort that shit out and really have the final product and the polished version. Like again, you have to kind of appreciate the mess and the effort, to get to that. And again, sometimes I'm like, I don't have any ideas to draw. I don't know what to draw. I know that if I just stop thinking and saying that, and I just sit down in front of some paper and maybe just start scribbling some lines, like it's gonna turn into something. You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna produce something, and whether I fucking crumple it up and throw it away or it turns into a tattoo that I do tomorrow, getting that out on the paper, is beneficial to me as an artist, as opposed to just every excuse in the book not to do it and not grow. Like you got to just sometimes just put it out there. And I love to see your videos where you're literally just, I don't know, you're just on the couch, and just hit record and play some music, man. Like it's just,
It's like I just want to put it out there, and I just want to, see if I could get some responses. I think really I'm looking for approval at that point. It's like me, come check it
well,
out. But it's like you just get that you just want to do something. You just want to do something with music, and there's times where I say, okay, I'm going and I'm sitting in my studio. I paid all this money for a home recording studio. The door's shut most of the time. You know what? I'm going in there on Saturday and I'm going to write a fucking song, right? I'm just going to do it. And then it's like you say, there's a free writing process. There's nothing there. You just got to start and do it.
Well, especially again, it goes back to like taking things for granted. It's like, boy, think about somebody else that would have to like earn some money, pay for some studio time. You know what I mean? Like, you got it right there. It's in the next
I
room.
put my robe on. I go downstairs. I get a coffee. I come upstairs. I'm like barefoot, just like hanging out. The cats are running around, breaking shit. I mean, so it's great. It's a great time, and I just love it.
I'm
And
very fortunate, man.
I am very fortunate. I have that, and I take that for granted. And I'm just now realizing it, sitting here talking to you. It's like you have a nice setup. Really, I don't have the room for it, but I make it work.
Do you have pictures? Do you have any pictures of your studio?
I could, but I don't
See,
right
no
now.
pride. You got to be proud of that, man. Like, cause again, you know, I come up here, dude, and I might not be recording anything, dude, but like I sit here and I'm like, fuck, man, this is awesome, dude. I'm so fucking
This
lucky
is
to have
nice.
this,
You have
dude. Like,
this nice up
it's
here.
like, man, like this is something that I'm sure tons of people dream about. Maybe think, could I do that? You know, should I do
I've
that?
even thought it
It's
with like a
like,
music angle, like narrow in on music and do
well,
some sort of.
and it comes down to again just doing it because I mean you probably have 75% of the equipment that you would need, and that's like I start to look at what other applications that I could do with the stuff that I've already invested in between mics and between broadcasting equipment and the platform and all this stuff. It's like, boy, there's a really, really fucking cool venue within walking distance of here. And I have not made the first initial interaction with them yet because I want to have all my ducks in a row. But, between blowing up some live music in this area, some live comedy, maybe even some live tattooing events or something like that. But I mean, like, between having all the equipment, I'm acquiring some musical instruments and stuff. Like, I'd like to put together a house band. I mean, there's just so much potential. And then again, even just the potential of just very little more effort would turn this into a recording studio to where we could actually record some music and do some stuff. Like, I'm interested to see. I did like a little sound check with my guitar over there just to see how things came in, and yeah, it all sounds actually pretty good. We're fortunate enough that this space is actually pretty good for soundproofing and stuff. I think that the walls being angled helps absorb and catch a lot of sound. With your studio, did you have to do a lot of soundproofing? Like, what's your setup look like?
Well, I did end up hanging up a lot of like styrofoam or stuff trying to. I didn't know what I was doing. I still don't know what I'm
It's a
doing.
lot of trial and error, dude. I spent
You
money
know,
in a lot of wrong direction before I was able to like.
and I think that's what I did too. I don't know that I needed much of anything. I needed to learn about frequencies, I think, as far as recording and knowing about taking out frequencies that sound bad and just trying
Right.
to keep stuff. I think for me, it's just to let it sound the way it is. Don't add a bunch of processing and everything.
Right.
I like raw and gritty music.
Right. Well, and I think that plays to your style anyway. Like, I mean, I think it would be off putting if you had something that was overly produced or something like that, which I feel the same way with this. I mean, like, I care so much about quality, but at the same time, it's like, I don't need, like, my software has, like, all this AI voice beautification, it's like, why the fuck would it? I mean,
Yeah.
I guess in some application, maybe somebody would need that, but it's like, boy, if you don't sound good, I don't, think I'd be doing it. I don't know. Or maybe if I cared so much about how I sound, maybe
And
I
I
wouldn't be
think
doing it.
that leads you to back to the basic idea: is it sincere? Is your music sincere, or are you just a pretty face who's doing it for money?
Right,
And I
right.
think when you get into a lot of that pop music, that's very much what it is. I go to the Total Fitness up where I'm at, and they got something like Fitness TV, and they just run all the pop music on there. And I see some of them, and I'm just thinking, like, people listen to this?
Well,
What the hell
and
is
you
this?
know how people sound when they sing. I mean, you've been in the industry long enough to know when something's like overly produced. Like I said, I mean, like I've never really played around with it, but like, boy, like I could take a lot of that maybe scratchiness out of my voice, maybe a little bit of that, like, so it's like at some point it's not me anymore, so it's like if I'm producing music and I sound all good and all this shit on a record, somebody's going to find out when they come to see me live or, catch me lip syncing or, so it's like, why stand on fake legs, you know?
Yeah, and I think when I listen to the really professional popular music. For me, it sounds removed from the emotion, and
Yeah.
it's maybe just my opinion, but it's overly compressed, it's overly digitized, it's there's no warmth there. When I record something, and it's probably because I don't know what the hell I'm doing, right? But there's a lot of warmth. There's you can hear some air in the recording that's captured from the microphone. I
Right.
don't take it out, I leave it in there. I probably don't know how to take it out,
Well, it's
but
like it goes back to like authenticity. You know what I mean? Like nobody would listen to that. Like, he's fucking auto tuning it, and he's got all this backup shit to hide his voice, or his imperfections. It's like the stuff that I listen to, I should have put it on. I can't play it right now, or else we get fucking flagged. But like this stuff, dude, like I said, that I listen to, like I think it's probably filmed on like a fucking. I mean, maybe it's a professional camera, but like it's just so raw that they've made it a point to not overly produce the video, the song, the vocals. Like I love that it's raw and it's raspy, and like I said, you can hear all these imperfections in it. And what's funny is that this artist that I listen to, he's a well established artist. He's on Spotify. So like if I listen to one of my favorite songs by him on YouTube that was filmed in that environment, it's my favorite shit ever. I could play that exact same song on Spotify and I fucking hate it. I absolutely hate it. It doesn't sound like him at all.
mhm.
It doesn't sound like the song. It's so different because again, you've lost all of that authenticity and it's so overly produced that it almost sounds like it's like fake, like somebody's pretending to sing a song.
Yeah, or they just sucked all the emotion out of it. And
Yeah.
you've seen bands like that live, right? Like you go and you see them live, and it's like this just like is awesome. And you buy their CD and you take it, and it's like all of that energy is gone.
I'm glad that you said it that way because I was thinking you were going to say the opposite to where you hear somebody on an album and they sound amazing, then you go in and listen to them live and they sound like shit. But it's actually more interesting when it's the other way around. When
Hmm.
you can fall in love with someone's music, live, and then you hear it studio produced album and it doesn't even sound like them. You don't get the same feeling.
There was the Living Deads. I absolutely loved them, and they were just a DIY band as far as I can tell. But they did a lot. They did stuff, and I saw them live, and it was an amazing show. There were theatrics and everything, and I bought the CD and I took the CD home and I listened to it, and it was just like nothing there. It was like the energy was gone. But when you saw them live, oh man,
Right.
it would make your hair stand up on the back of your
And
neck.
see, that plays right into what we're talking about. Just like music is so emotional and about feeling to where it's the same lyrics, it's the same guy singing it, it's the same beat, same melody, but you feel nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like because you experience that in person. You got to feel that intimacy and you got to see the authentic version first, and to where then you got this diluted version afterwards, and it's like, boy, like again, like I said, it checks all the boxes. It's the same fucking song, same person, but like I feel completely different to listen to it. Like it's something that a lot of people, like, you wouldn't believe how many people have never really experienced just live music, and it's sad to know that like maybe they won't even have the opportunity to experience it in the way that we're describing because even at a live show now, again, they're overproducing a lot of shit. Everybody wants to sound perfect. Go to a fucking punk show, even if you don't listen to punk music or like punk music, like, because it's an energy and a camaraderie with everybody in the crowd, and you have a connection with the artist that it's just not like that with a lot of other music.
Yeah, I went and I saw the Pumpkins recently, last time they were in the city. And it was at the Consol Energy Center
Oh
in
wow.
Pittsburgh, and it was big show. I usually don't go to big shows, and I was happy that I went, but at the same time, it wasn't like going to a great punk show.
Right.
It was very disconnected. I'm up in peanut heaven. I overpaid for the tickets, and the sound was all low end. I couldn't hear the guitar, and
Ah,
like everything
that's
about
got to
it
be
was off.
equally like, or not. I guess not equally. That's got to be exceptionally frustrating for a musician. You know what I mean? Like, cause you're missing key parts of the song. Yeah, you're missing key structure. If you
Yeah.
can't hear the fucking guitar, and this guy's just wailing over some fucking drum and bass, like it's not gonna come across
It was real
anywhere close.
muddy. It was real muddy. The mix was real bad. But I think it might have been where you're at in that building. You want to be front and center if you go there, I think.
Right.
And it was just like the intimacy, the sincerity. You know, like you said, go to a band who's just working class, not making it, DIY, and see them put everything into a set. They're just as talented as anybody else.
Well, and I
You
would
know.
argue that they're working harder because, I mean, I've known people personally that literally it's like, oh my God, like we're splitting up the fucking $25 we got paid for this show. We are starving. Like I remember being in fucking New York and like I don't know how many people we had in that van, but I know that every single one of us had to chip in for one pack of cigarettes. You know what I mean? Like that's fucking punk rock, dude. Like we're literally
Uh,
that story that like I've told that off air a number of times to clients and shit, dude. Because I'm telling you, like that's the most punk rock I've ever lived, man. Like in the van all the way to New York, hit with the snowstorm, and then what fucked us was the fact that I don't even. I think we might have even had to chip in on the parking garage because like the New York City parking garage super expensive. And then for some reason they don't allow you to sit with the vehicle while it's in the parking garage. You can leave your vehicle, but then you have to go find something else to do. So literally we're in the middle of this fucking nastiest snowstorm New York has ever seen, and we're all outside stuck. Cold, wet, rainy, everybody's bitching, nobody's got money for smokes.
and I think if we would have just called Brian, he would have
Oh, he
done.
said that.
He said that.
We're like, fuck, man. Oh, you could
Yeah.
have came just slept on the fucking floor of the fucking muff cave. I was like, oh my God, we've been spending the last 16 hours surviving like literally fighting for our lives, walking around New York City. We don't know anything about anything. But it was cool though. I got so many pictures of like, us at like the Ripley's Believe It or Not museum and shit. Like, and of course we're
Yeah.
all soaking fucking wet, dude, miserable, but trying to have a good time. Yeah, it was an incredible fucking experience, man. And then to have that whole entire struggle, because I'm telling you, we had to kill all that time. Jeff fucking met some dude on the internet and fucking got a hotel room. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do remember
We're
that.
all freezing the hotel. They're like, you can't let all these people up here. It was only a one person room. So him and that guy just took turns or something up there. I'm like, holy fuck, do you even know this guy? Man, what a wild fucking ride, dude.
He did something like that in California too.
And this was like before meeting people on the internet was normal. This was like, wait, who's this
And
guy?
so the rest of us sleep on the garage floor, probably spiders walking all over us.
Oh, it was just a miracle to just even get out of the weather because in New York City, like especially like we're all fucking clapped out in leather and fucking looking the way that we do, and we're like a whole group of people in convenience stores and in little bodegas. Like they don't want us hanging out in there to get out of the weather. So like I think we're lucky enough to like take shelter at like the entrance of the parking garage, you know. Oh, it was so good. So then, like all of that, we ended up surviving all that, and then making it to the fucking show. And I think we partied harder than anybody ever has in New York City, dude, because of what we fucking went through to get there.
No, I think there was a period of exhaustion for me. I think I just passed the hell out.
Did we sleep before the show?
No,
No, I didn't think so.
we drove through the night. It was stupid. We were young. Like, why'd we have to drive through
Yeah,
the
why did we
night?
drive up so early?
Like, why did we do that? I don't know. I think back to that, man. We should have just like timed it out so we just got there.
Just
I
for the
think
show.
it was excitement to be in New York City. I mean,
Oh,
I
and
had been there maybe once before, and I was pretty sure this was going to be a better experience, and it was an experience.
well, and to have the invite again, like you met Brian Defiance, and to know about the Bloody Muffs and this show. I think it was a Halloween show, right?
It
I
was.
specifically remember a band of girls playing dressed up as the Powerpuff Girls.
I remember that too.
I don't remember the name of the band, but that was like the opening act, man. And like I'm like, holy fuck, like this is New York City punk scene, man. We're like in the middle of the city. It was like the most crazy fucking experience ever. And then that was my first experience listening to Tied for Last, which I still listen to them today. I still listen to that corporate asshole fucking album, man. Like I mean that whole fucking experience like defined like the next 10 years of my life, dude. It was amazing. Brian ordered some fucking home style New York City pizzas. That was like the mecca of the whole thing, dude. Like recharged us. I've got a picture of me passed out, like slumped over a couch, like this. And of course, it was a Halloween show, so we had a bunch of face paint and shit on. And I was all fucking decked out. But I had a disco ball on my chest. Somebody put it on my chest. I was passed out sleeping with a disco ball. One of those little ones, that, like desktop. It spins. Oh my god, it was fucking like I said. I'll I'll dig for those pictures, man, because I have not many, but a handful of pictures like of us walking around New York City, dude. Like I said, you can just see the emotion in our faces, dude. Like we're so miserable.
It was tough. It
Uh,
was a tough time, but then you look back on it and it's a great experience.
Probably one of my greatest experiences, honestly. Like I said, I mean, like to think about the people that were involved in that whole thing, and
Yeah.
just everything that happened, to and from, and to have such a great show and meet such good people, like, and with like music in this fashion, like again, I could probably hit up Brian Defiance tomorrow, and talk about this story and shit, and he'd probably still remember it, like I mean, like everybody took something from that, like it was a really, really cool fucking experience, man. And it was all because of punk rock music, like that's what took everybody to that situation.
Well, I know I'll definitely remember it. So hopefully other people liked it too.
Yeah,
Um,
man. And
Adventure, man, and that's what I wanted from getting into music. Network with people, be social, adventure. The idea of being able to go to a different area, a different city, whether it's St. Mary's or whether it's Pittsburgh or whether it's New York or whether it's Anaheim, California, and getting to do music there and maybe getting some of that return, that money, so that the trip wasn't quite as expensive.
yeah, how did
Or
how did that turn out? Like, did you guys get paid for that show in California? That was just I mean, that was to go out there just for just the experience, essentially. Which,
basically, that was like I said, if you went to the beach for a vacation, well, I went to Anaheim to play a punk rock show,
right.
you know, and we were there for a week, and I really got to see what the weather in California was like
Well, and
and
I'm sure with
experience that.
Ian as your fucking tour guide, like I'm sure it was an experience, man. Like going anywhere with that guy.
It was
Um,
an experience, and he wanted us to go to this place because he had friends that worked there a long time ago, and so we were like, all right, let's walk there, and we're walking there. Well, it turned out it was like miles. It was like,
to Ian, it's like out over there.
yeah, he's like, oh, I used to walk this all, like it was a long walk.
Little did you know he was on meth, and it was like a 5 mile walk to him.
He had like unstoppable energy, right? But uh, people were people were pretty tired by the time we got there.
He's a fucking trip, man. Yeah, I think I probably got invited to go on that trip, and probably I'm pretty sure that I was full swing fucking Flat Mega Studios tattooing at that point. But yeah, so like just the fact that like you guys went out there and did that, dude, is just incredible. And also too, like for him to be able to go back and kind of have a little bit of a reunion with his old band and have so much kind of respect between, where he was and where he's at now, it's like that had to be a really cool experience for you to not only go out there and play a show, but to also go out and kind of see him play in the band that he started in, because I know for me, trying to listen to some Sweaty Ball Bag stuff, man, it's like, dude, like that's like Ian in its entirety. Like that's the Ian that I picture. Like he's so fucking grunge.
Yeah, yeah, and it's definitely was nice to see what his life was over there and meet these people because you hear all these stories about Russ and about Arlene and to actually meet the people
Right.
and be a part of that group and it's like bringing people in,
Right.
right? You share an experience with them, you share a stage with someone, you now you bring people in, and it's bringing people in and as in contrast to pushing them away, right?
Right.
So it's a unity thing, I guess is what I'm saying. And I got to meet people from California who I normally would not have met with similar ideas and philosophies that I have.
Right. And you could probably only hope that, they kind of could speak the same way about meeting you and about having the opportunity to have someone, come from Pennsylvania all the way out there to play a show and to hear music that they wouldn't have heard otherwise. I mean, like, that's what I think about because again, like I could put on that fucking self-titled album and be projected to a completely different time and space, and you can only hope that like as you travel across the country and share your music with other people that they'll take some of that and and maybe show somebody else, or maybe feel some kind of way, like said like I mean, I don't give a shit. I'm 60 years old. You could put on Carry On, dude, and like I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna fucking sing it as loud as I can. Like it's like just one of those things like I feel that music, man, and like with my art, I can only hope that maybe they feel the same way that I do when they look at it or whenever they, receive it, because it's hard to open yourself up and express yourself, especially like it's something that's inside of you. It's not like you're taking this thing that somebody else made and sharing that with the world. That's easy. They're the ones that are going to be judged, but like when you have something that you create yourself inside of you and you're going to project that out there and share it with the world, whether they like it or hate it or judge you or accept it, it's like, you put it out there and you just have to trust the universe and, just know that that's what you were born to do, and just trust the process.
Yeah, I've definitely put out some stuff when I've thought, should I let people listen to
It's
this?
probably really easy to be self-conscious. Like I said, with words, it's a different ball game. I could draw something, like I said, people are going to interpret that a bunch of different ways. Nobody's going to know, like, maybe I don't fucking know, did something terrible to somebody when I was. They're not going to know that by looking at a piece of artwork. But if I write a song to, maybe
It's
release some of
very
that trauma,
intimate.
it's like,
Yeah.
boy, they know verbatim maybe an experience that you had or a time when you were vulnerable, and then they can pick that apart and use it against you. Obviously, is the worst case scenario. So like I'm
Yeah.
sure you probably write a bunch of stuff and you're like, nah, I'm not even gonna fucking talk about that.
I wrote it, and it's like I ended up doing the solo thing. I don't know if you've listened to any of that
I
stuff.
did actually. I did find some of your stuff, dude. I was actually
And
surprised.
so I did all the instruments on that myself, and I have some songs on there, and it's like, man, this song's really good, but it's like I just pretty much came out and said things that maybe I shouldn't have said. Because strength is so important to some people, right? And I'm kind of opposite. I'm a touchy-feely, emotional person, and I think it makes me a good songwriter.
Well,
And I'm
yeah.
not afraid to embrace it. I'm not afraid to put it out there. But I could tell sometimes it makes people uncomfortable, and I'll be talking about stuff, and it's like, oh, I'm sorry.
Well,
I didn't do
it's just part of being an artist, I think, because again, like it's. What the but
that.
but I think it's just part of being an artist, honestly, because again, like if you're not vulnerable and you're not self-conscious, you kind of just don't give a shit a little bit. You know what I mean? Because again, I could spew out artwork all day, and if I don't think twice about what that means or how that's going to reflect in the real world, it's like it's a lot easier, yeah. But at the same time, it's not really authentic either. I'm just, for
And
the masses.
it makes it better.
Yeah, I think that honestly, it's
Yeah,
more
yeah, this
rewarding.
one.
What's that? Oh yeah. I think it's honestly more rewarding, when I'm looking at a piece and I'm sweating over it or I'm nervous about it or I'm scared to do it or even unsure of my ability. Sometimes like I am in front of a piece that like, do I have enough skill to even fucking do this? So it's like that to me I think is more rewarding and beneficial than if I walked in there and every fucking piece I did was easy and a piece of cake and I had all the confidence in the world, because trust me, I've met artists and musicians and all kinds of people that are drunk on their own ego almost to where
Mm.
like, hey man, like I know you're good, but you're kind of delusional at the same time because like if you're not at least aware that like, hey, there are imperfections and not everybody's gonna love it, and like I said, you're kind of lying to yourself. So I think that realistic reflection and knowing that like, hey, like this might be fucked up or this might not be right or somebody might fucking hate it. I'm gonna do it anyway. That builds a lot of character, and it really is what, like I said, separates the people that are like true. Like I said, that's in your DNA to be a musician, and you're gonna do it regardless of all those thoughts and self consciousness. Like same thing with me. Like I knew I was gonna be an artist regardless of everybody in the world told me that I wasn't gonna be or couldn't be or wasn't good enough. Like if you're right, it'll show itself eventually, and if you're not, then I've succeeded.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. I think ego is definitely something I do not have. You right? I'm not the guy who talks big about myself, and I try to be humble. I pride myself in that, and so I think I don't take a lot of these accomplishments that you brought up and like, yeah, I did do that. Oh yeah, that is kind of cool.
Well, and there's a fine line between, boasting yourself up, but also acknowledging your skill. Like I said, I mean, at the end of the day, I don't think I've ever walked around going, oh, I'm so good. I'm so good.
Yeah, I don't do that.
Other people do that for me. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
like, realistically, like, I'm the one that's saying, boy, that was fucking terrible. Everybody else is telling me how great it was, and I'm like, fuck, I don't know what you're looking at. You know what I mean?
I kind of like hearing you say that because I'm definitely my worst critic.
It's so important. And again, like I said, if you're not at least critical of your own work, then you're kind of fooling yourself at the same time. Like you have to be essentially your biggest critic, like
I think I was kind of raised like that too. Like after you accomplish something, there's always the next.
right,
And so okay, you did this song this way pretty good. Well, let's see if we can make the next one a little better
right.
and better and better. Okay, you used all this cool stuff, but now is there something that can make it better? And I just keep chasing that carrot
Well, and
that's dangling in front of my
I'm
face.
sure if like even when you're in a flow too, like you'll take a step back and be like, I really like that. That sounds really good, or it looks really good, but maybe I should try something different. I mean, like let me, kind of go out in left field and maybe see things from a different perspective. Like so, like with music, it changes so much. Like I said, I mean, like I grew up with my parents listening to country music, and I mean Dwight Yoakam and all this old Western country stuff. And I, of course, rebelled and listened to punk rock and heavy metal and Hatebreed, and I mean, like just absolutely love that style of music. And now it's like there's this weird blend of those two styles that exists in the world right now because probably somebody grew up listening to country but was more ingrained into punk rock roots, and they combined those two genres to make a new style, and it's like now that's what I'm most in love with. Like they have this stuff, and they're calling it like black grass, so it's
Oh,
like bluegrass with punk rock,
yeah.
and you mentioned early on, dude, the Bridge City Sinners, they call that, they're again, they have to just make up names for these genres because they never existed before.
Hmm.
They call themselves Appalachian Death Folk. I'm like, motherfucker, this is the coolest shit ever.
Yeah.
They got a fucking banjo or a violin or a standing bass, and she's playing the fucking, the banjo and like, I listen to another band, it's called Days and Days, and they play like the washboard and the trumpet, but it's very raspy raw, like very punk rock lyrics. All of their music is about, struggling, and a lot of it's about addiction and a lot of stuff like that. And it's like, I never in a million years would have thought that I'd be turning on banjo music or fiddle and, or folk music, but boy, has it really evolved into something that is so ingrained into who I am. Like I said, with just this raspiness and the rawness and the punk rock vibes and heavy metal lyrics, it's like I actually really like that twang and that thing. It's such a different, and it's just a different energy than what you would feel with hard guitar riffs and stuff like Antipsychotics and stuff. Like it's a completely different animal. You
Yeah,
know,
and those instruments are more accessible. You don't need electric to do that.
true,
You know what
right?
I mean? And so you don't have to have a lot of money. You could be just this street kid, and if you can afford the instrument, then okay, now you've got music.
Right.
And really, so you let's start thinking about this. And so it was like old times before. It was like this container. These instruments were for a certain lyric, and then the young generation comes up and they say, well, we like those instruments, so we're going to take them and we're just going to put our lyrics to them.
Right.
And so it's kind of neat, and I like seeing that. And I definitely got into like the Devil Makes Three, or Devil Makes Three.
Is that a band?
That's a
Yeah.
band, but I felt that way about them, right? They're three-piece guitar, banjo,
Oh
double
wow.
bass, and they're playing like bluegrass music, but the lyrics are a little more edgy. He's a little closer to our age. He's
Okay.
singing about being a fuck up and struggling
Yeah.
through life. The Devil Makes Three, I'm pretty sure
It's
is the
it's
name of
pretty cool that you said that because I actually never really thought about that. Like, think about the guy who invented the banjo. Like, did he ever think that somebody would be, wailing on that thing, like I said, screaming about addiction and about being a fuck up, and it's like that instrument was produced for country twang. You know what I mean? Maybe some soft wailing, Jennings. I mean, you just don't know. Like to see how that instrument has traveled now through evolution of history. It's like, man, like,
Yep, rather than forgetting about it, we said, wait a second, we could still use this.
well, same thing with the washboard. When I seen that, I'm like,
Yeah, who
what
the hell
era
plays
was that
that?
an instrument? Like what time period in human history were people like, this is an instrument? Like, fuck, man, because there's actually, um, damn, see, what the hell is it? I can't think of the name of the band now. I only have listened to one song by them, but this guy, he has like, it's literally like a metal laundry tub, like a galvanized laundry tub, upside down with like a broomstick and a string on it. Boom, 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 boom. You know what I mean? Like, Yeah, I mean, so you think about like, I mean, this had to have been like, I mean, talk about the early days. I mean, before, maybe even before guitars and shit were invented, that's how people were playing music. Like a string on a broomstick with something to just get a little bit of the echo. It's like, man, just the resourcefulness, of people to just make music and make a sound like, I mean, even just, like, I mean, fucking, a single drum, even just, I always think about it. Like, I could fucking play around with one of the, just a little bongo drum all day, and make music and stuff. Like,
And and that's something that I've wanted to explore more was just getting kind of weird with recording and just trying different things and just I know in the one Agent Orange recording, they didn't have a certain symbol, and so they went out back in the alley and they got metal trash can lids and they started beating on those things and
no
recording them.
shit.
And so, like, to just imagine like using different weird stuff and then getting it in there, and just see what you could do with it, just to make music. There's no right or wrong in music. If you do something and I think it sounds like shit, but you say that's music,
Right.
then damn, that's music.
Well, especially like, because really anything, that you can use to produce a sound is an instrument, So again, just going back to the resourcefulness, and like how creative are you and how willing are you to like kind of step out of the box, like, so like that's really cool, especially because like I always think about like when I'm watching a movie, especially if it's an animation or something like that, like I look at the sound effects. Like somebody had to record that. Somebody had to, whatever, paint out this scene and think, well, how am I going to make this sound effect? And you got to go through a whole slew of different things, and you're just literally recording just sounds to see what produces the right effect. It's like it's the same thing. You just really know. Like I look at all these old like Walt Disney documentaries, and they're showing how they like would make the sound of thunder and rain, and the different crashes and clangs and shit. It's like, man, like they had to be really innovative back then, because you didn't have all this technology to be able to digitally create a sound or to put a drum loop on, or it's like, boy, like somebody had to raw record these sounds at some point, and come up with a way to make this sound right. It's incredible.
Yeah, I don't think I would have the imagination back then to make all that happen.
Innovative, man. Thank God. Same thing with like, just, I mean, the thought of just recording or inventing any of those musical instruments and stuff. It's like, because now you look, they have like electric cellos, electric violins, all this stuff, and like
Yeah, you get anything electric.
they're beautiful. It's like same thing. Like the person who's made that violin or invented that violin, like with the body, and it needs all this for percussion, and nope, now it's a hollow body. It's just a frame, and you fucking plug it in, and it's digital sound. We
Yeah,
have a digital or an electronic drum set, electric drum set.
yeah,
And same thing. It's like it's so weird to hit those cymbals and hear a crash. It's like it's a fucking plastic cymbal and it's a digital sound. And now I've got the keyboard. Same thing. I can set that thing to rock and roll drums, and then I'm playing the drums on the keyboard. Ba, 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 ba.
yeah.
It's like, man, like the versatility of music. Like I really don't have to even know how to play an instrument at all, and I can have a full band downstairs. Like,
And then that's what ends up happening, right? And everyone just uploads
yep.
their music, and there's so much music out there, you don't know where to begin if you're looking for new music.
And you don't know if they're actually playing it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like I said, if I'm synthesizing and AI beautifying my voice, and I've got a drum track and a guitar track, and it's like, motherfucker, I'm in here on the couch by myself, and I got a whole album made.
yeah,
It's like,
yeah,
not only is that cool in a lot of ways, but again, diluting the music industry to where like you're losing that authenticity. It's like I could have been doing that for decades, but I want to actually know how to play guitar, not just make somebody think that I know how to play guitar.
yeah. And,
you know.
I've experimented with doing some stuff writing and thinking like, okay, I just want to write quick. And so, like, I record like the verse and then I copy paste, copy paste, copy paste, and I just
Yeah.
kind of start playing around with the structure of it and everything. And so it's like, yeah, I played it, but I only played it through like once. And, you know,
And
uh,
and I think you touched on it a little bit. This is obviously the first time you've ever done this side of it, right? You've never recorded before. You've never
it's been
pieced
a
together.
learning experience,
Audio
right?
production's a whole different thing,
There's no education there. There's
Right.
there's no formal training. I just kind of bought the stuff and figured it out. YouTube videos and trial and error.
Now, is your program probably suited just for audio? Probably, I would imagine.
Well, they're starting to get into video stuff too. I
Okay.
use Persona Studio One, and they're starting to market their product towards like a podcast type of deal.
Okay.
And so now there's a platform there where I can, or a window, we'll call it a window. There's a window there now where I can have my video and I can have my audio recording and I can match it up
Okay.
and move it around
That's what
and
I was wondering. So,
cut
like,
and splice.
so right. So obviously, with the software that I use to edit the video, it's the same exact thing. Okay. So I've got a timeline, and I can layer a number of things in. One track is my video, one's my audio, maybe one's text. I'd imagine it's probably the same thing. Like if I had recorded my drums separately, I would have that on a track. Same thing with all my other instruments, and then you would lay your vocals, and that way you can individually adjust those parameters and all of that.
I
So
think
like
when I'm doing music, I think that how can I break it down? The more you break it down, the more control you have
right,
in the interface in your what would that be called? The software,
right.
right? If you could put the lead on a different thing and then put this vocal on a different thing and that vocal on a different thing. One track might just be one background vocal, but we
Ah,
want to set it at a different volume, so we put it on a
you
different
just
track.
helped me figure something out. So like when I start my software, I use OBS to do this. Um, when I lay in all my sources, I got two mics, three cameras, or I guess three mics now. Um, it asks me what track I want to record those devices on. And I've got the option of six tracks, and again, trial and error. I don't know much about it, and this has all been a learning process, but learning to separate those tracks, that way I'm not recording this across six tracks and I'm not recording that across six tracks. So I can delegate mics to track one, this to track two. And like if I chose to pull audio from the cameras, that would be on a separate track itself. So that way, whenever I go into post production, I have more versatility whenever I'm editing that, because again, I want to make sure that that audio maybe is coming in a little bit lower than the vocal audio. So like it's definitely been a process, and like I'm again, like I said, I'm learning, like, okay, well, I'm figuring this out for my agenda for my podcast, but I'm also learning this, and this has so many other applications in recording music or maybe playing a live show, because that was something to where, like, again, a different animal. You guys have done this thousands and thousands of times, but you go in, you're plugging in, you're usually plugging into somebody else's PA. They usually have all of the
The sound
sound.
guy maybe mics it up or
So
that.
like
Yeah.
so with my soundboard or my mixer, is that the same thing? Soundboard is a mixer
Yeah,
essentially.
I think so.
So like your mic and everything. I mean, I would imagine everything's plugged into your soundboard. Whatever it's channel one, channel two. Like if I have like a 12 channel soundboard, each like this mic for the vocals, the guitar, all that goes into its own separate channel. How do you delegate? Like, are the vocals on its own PA, and then again the guitar and bass are on a separate PA? Like when you're playing live music, how the hell do you delegate all of that sound out? Which I guess you're not a sound guy, but maybe you've obviously been in thousands of sound checks.
Well, I think that it's panning. It's all going into the same board, but you send one signal a little left, you send one signal a little right,
Right.
and you get it to sit well with itself. You might have something like frequency cancellation, where if two things are putting out too similar of a frequency, you might have to EQ it a little bit.
And that's where you're getting like a little bit of feedback and shit, because that's another thing that I tried to figure out with this. Like, remove the hiss, remove that little bit of a hum, and not get any feedback. Make sure the mics aren't getting blown out, because like this mixer, I would imagine that's probably just like a one channel mixer. So I only have like an equalizer to control one set of audio. But I would imagine on the other ones, like I could probably individually, raise and lower, the EQ for the vocals as well as the guitar. Cause like trying to figure out what needs to be the highest sound and the lowest, like trying to figure that out has got to be so difficult. Like, cause I
Yeah, I
want,
think live stuff is a little more difficult than say like me recording something in the studio. And like I don't know much, and I've been doing this for uh doing music for at least 10 years, you gotta say,
well,
right?
luckily, I guess you had somebody like, again, I guess, like I said, that's the responsibility of the sound guy. When you come into a venue, that shit's kind of already
And just
figured out
plug in
for you,
and
right?
turn it up. But
Because I want to do some live shit. Like I said, I mean, whether it's, I would like to do some comedy would be amazing. But even with a comedy show, like I want to have like a house band and stuff. So like I have to figure out and learn how to set up a live show and like speaker placement to make sure that the audience is able to hear everything. Because again, if you can't hear one component of that, you're not getting the right experience. So again, everybody has to be able to hear everything, especially like getting vocals over top of the music and make sure shit's not drowned out. Because how many shows have you been to that, like, I can't even hear the guy singing
and
because
sometimes
the
you'll
music's
just
too
have a
loud?
bad room, that sound doesn't sound good in
That's
the
true
room.
too, right? It might not be the
You
equipment at all,
know,
right?
but I think that when you get into doing a live show, you'll have a bigger PA system, or I don't know what it's called, your soundboard. Everything's going to go into its own track, and it will probably have a little bit of EQ, at least high-low type deal.
Right, make sure you're not blown out.
And you can tweak stuff out a little bit for every individual track, and then that all goes to your main outs. But I haven't done anything with live sound. I can't give much advice on that. I think it's difficult.
You ever play any live acoustic sets?
No.
No. Is that something would you be interested in? I mean, you do a lot of acoustic stuff that I've seen now, which again, before I started looking at your videos that you've been posting on Facebook, I really probably only seen you play an acoustic guitar a handful of times. Maybe we're just sitting around fucking singing some Social Distortion after a show or something. That was one thing that I missed, dude. I remember like maybe like the after party. We got like a whole fucking house full of people and someone's sitting there with an acoustic guitar, man, and everybody in the room is fucking singing, dude.
Yeah,
like,
we had good times.
Like, bring that back, man. I mean, just like the camaraderie, like I said, everybody in there, like,
I'm not sure how to get everyone in the same room anymore.
find new people. You gotta find a new crowd.
We just grew apart so much, But so playing like acoustic is different. Songs weren't written for acoustic a lot of times. And then for me, doing the solo acoustic stuff, which I might do more of, but
Very, very intimate.
it's very intimate, and you're going to hear all my mistakes and everything I mess up, and you don't have the boys backing you up.
Right.
And I mean, that's where a lot of my confidence comes from, is just knowing that I've got my friends here with me, and we're just playing and putting it out there.
Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest asset to the whole thing. Is that going in there alone would be fucking totally different. I mean, it would be scary.
And that's
like,
what you're doing with the acoustic set.
Yeah,
you're kind of naked, right? You're just out there.
Yeah, at least you got all your, like you said, you got all your friends. I mean, everybody's right there with you, and you're either gonna sink or swim, together.
And that's the mentality that I have every time that I go out there. Is it's go time.
Right.
This is it, because a lot of those people out there, that's their first impression of you.
Right.
And so, you do have that anxiousness, you do have that little bit of stage fright, and I still get that, but I have that mind, and it's like, it's go time. It's now or never. And then you just put everything you've got into it.
Especially when it's like, I mean, I tattoo in the same place every time. People come to my place to see me. They come in there and they know what they're getting. They know who they're getting. Your situation, you're in a new town, a new place. You don't know anybody except for maybe the handful of friends you brought with you for the show or something, and you got your bandmates, but like you're in there in a completely new environment, like you're setting up in a place you've never been before. And like you said, you might have the best performance of your life, but if the room doesn't complement the sound, not going to it's not going to resonate the same way with the audience, which could have an adverse effect, could have a different experience. It's like, so a lot of variables in your situation where, again, like, I mean, you're going in blind and you really have no choice, but you just step through the curtain and you just have to accept it for what it is. Like, and I have the same mentality going into a tattoo. Like, I'll be having a fucking panic attack, dumpster fire. As soon as I walk through the door, it's go time to fucking play the show, and we're here and we're gonna do it, and it's like, you're either gonna stand on your own two legs or you're not, and at the end of the day, it's like, that's all you can do, because not walking through the door isn't an option, like, because I mean, what would you be otherwise? You'd be sitting at home wishing you were doing it.
You'd be wishing you were doing it and jealous of everyone who is. and so I just go and I do it, and that's interesting. Like tattooing, that shit's permanent, so there must be a little bit of
It's scary.
performance pressure there.
Every time it's scary,
Yeah.
and even after doing it for decades, it's like it doesn't really ever go away. I mean, maybe once you get into it, you feel yourself. This is where I'm supposed to be. I've worked so hard to get to this position. I know that I have the skill. But again, the audience could change everything. The person that I'm tattooing could change everything. Their demeanor, their energy, their feedback. Sometimes maybe I'm just misinterpreting their body language and thinking that maybe they're thinking something. You know what I mean? Like, I talk about it a lot, but it's like that imposter syndrome. Like, fuck, are they all going to find out that I'm not good? They're all going to find out that I suck because I
Yeah.
think I suck. Like if they see what I see, I'm fucked. I'm fucked.
And that's definitely me. My own worst enemy. Like I feel grateful that anyone that likes my music, and I like my music, but at the same time, like I see some of the other guys in the local scene, and there's a lot of real talent there, and that's not me. I'm not that, but I think I can write a good song.
But they might say the same thing about you.
And I just go and I do it. I just do it because that's kind of punk rock, right? We're just gonna fucking do it because we want to do
Well,
it.
dude, I think about, and you can correct me if I'm wrong because my punk rock history isn't what it should be, but bands like the Germs, didn't they go out and start playing shows before they could even play instruments?
I think
They
so.
really didn't even know how to play a fucking note.
I watched that movie.
Yeah, and they just went
They
out and
just
just
kinda
did
went
it.
out.
You know what I mean? Because at the
Yeah.
end of the day, like you said, that's punk rock. You know what I mean? Like we don't give a fuck what you think, and we're gonna come out here and do it because we want to.
Yep. And I
You
wanted
know?
to be part of something. I don't want to just sit around and go to work every day. I fucking hate work.
Well, and at
You
the end
know?
of the day, that's who you are. Even if you weren't in a band and playing music, that's who you are. You know what I mean? Like the music flows through you. You know what I mean? You
Hmm.
feel it in a different way than a lot of other people. So it's like if you weren't putting that out there, it's still inside you.
And
It's
I
still who
definitely
you
think
are.
some people feel it and some people don't. Some people are into music and some people are not. And sometimes the music fan feels it just as much as the musician.
Yeah.
And I have a friend that lives down the road from me, and when we get to talking about music, like it's like we can finish each other's sentences,
Right.
right? But he doesn't play in a band or anything, but he has some guitars. He plays a little bit, but he's really just a fan of music. He
And
just
just understands
loves
it
it,
too.
understands it, reads about it.
Yeah, it's a different animal. Like I said, I mean, comparing it to what I do, it's like I mean, a lot of people look at art and feel nothing. You know what I mean? Like I'm not, big on like going to art museums, but I used to, and I used to love it because again, you're going out there and you're seeing something else that somebody else put together. Somebody else maybe was self conscious about it and just expressed themselves and put it out there. And now we're sitting here looking at it and taking things in from it. It's like so. Some people go into a fucking art museum or look at artwork and don't understand it or are confused by it or just have a bunch of questions. Like I try not to really ask any questions at all when I'm looking at a piece of art because it's not for me to analyze. You know what I mean? Like I'm there to just kind of receive whatever I'm feeling from it, like and I try to take everything in that way as opposed to breaking it apart and question it. Maybe later on down the road, you're like I love to look at artists that I admire and I'll look at every line and every tattoo that they do. And again, there's a lot of things that I admire and am envious about. And then there's a lot of things I'm like, well, I wouldn't do it that way. I would do things differently. Doesn't make me or him right or wrong. Different people, different artists, different perspectives. It's like, so there's not always going to be people that are receptive to what you're doing. And that's where you just have to kind of just tune out because those people aren't your people, like at the end
Yeah,
of the
and
day.
I think I do the same thing with music, like when I look at art, for me, it's either a like or I don't like it, right? It's like, oh, that's cool. I like the colors. I like what it is, or I don't like it. But when it comes to music, that's when I start like, I like where this is going, but they just killed it when they cut into that chorus. I would have done something different, or
Right.
and you start picking it apart a little bit. And in a way, it kind of sucks because when you're young and you're getting into music, it's kind of magical. You just kind of wonder like how they do it, and it
Right. How
sounds
they
so
making it
great.
sound that way.
But then when you're in it, and then it's just like you start analyzing too much.
Well,
Mm.
it's funny that you bring that up because I don't go and get tattooed anymore. and haven't for a long time. But that's something that I realized early on in becoming a tattoo artist and being a real tattoo artist. It's like, boy, that really fucked me up for going and getting tattooed at other places. And it's not that I like
Yeah.
it didn't change anything about how I perceived the artwork at all, but the process. Because if I walk into a tattoo shop now, it's like I'm looking at things like, well, my shop, wouldn't be this dirty or this disorganized, or maybe, like maybe I give my clients a little bit more privacy. Like, boy, this is just so different than what I do, and again, that doesn't make me right or wrong, but at the same time, like as I'm even watching them set up and get ready for the tattoo, I'm like, well, fuck, I wouldn't do that.
Yep.
Why'd you do that?
A little more attached to it.
It's like it's like I said, when you know every step of that process. It's like if you were sitting down and watch somebody record, you'd be like, "Fuck, that's weird that he does that." I mean, like, why does he do that before he starts recording? Or, like I'm just sure that, like I said, because you're in it, you would just see things that normally most people would never even notice. Same thing with like just listening to a song. You could break that down, and be like, why the fuck did he do that?
And I think for me too. So like I'm not real confident with like I'm learning. I'm always learning, right? My favorite quote is, "I know I'm intelligent because I know nothing."
Yeah.
Apparently Socrates said that. But I think when I watch people record and I watch people set up and everything, I try to pay attention. I
Mhm.
try to think and take something away from that. Like, is that the right way to do that? Maybe I should try that out.
Right.
And I kind of have this assumption that everyone had something to show me. I'm very open. I think they call that openness.
Yeah. Well, and
You
it's
know.
smart to look at things like that because, again, you're a fool if you think you don't have anything to learn. Or if you think you know it all, you're
Oh,
an
there's so
idiot.
much out there, and there's so
You
much
know.
that people do with it.
Well, do you feel up to playing anything for us? I actually wanted to ask you, did you haven't gotten any tattoos since the last time I saw you, which is a long time. You don't
No,
have
I
any new
haven't.
work at all.
No.
Man, that's crazy. Because obviously you started a sleeve. So what happened? Did you just decide?
Well, I wanted it to be a half sleeve.
Oh, so that was your goal from the start.
That was the
No
goal from the
shit.
start. And then I thought maybe later I would do a half sleeve on this side. This is
You got
kind
the
of like
social D one up there,
that's
right?
kind of like a home done tattoo. It's kind of blurry down there. But I could maybe go around it, but I just stopped investing in it. I've started putting the money in other places.
Well, and again, you just kind of gave you a little bit of your mindset with the artwork. It's like, I mean, you can look at artwork and like it and appreciate it, but the artwork that you truly love and are passionate about is sound, not necessarily a visual art. So
And I do like image though. I like the rock and roll image. I like
yeah,
the image of tattoo artists. I like it's like this is my in crowd. I
right.
like seeing people with piercings
Yep,
and
leather and
tattoos,
tattoos and
leather and
patches.
plaid and all of that. And so it is an image thing. And I think of the one Gen X song where he's singing about all the punks and the looks and stuff. Like I love it. I love the style, and
It is.
and that's part of the draw for me. And so the tattoos for me were I want to be myself. I want to be rock and roll Eric as opposed to 9 to 5 or Eric working
Right.
at corporate. You know what I
Right.
mean? And so that was kind of my way of committing to this life and putting music first. And everything I do is for the music. I worked a good job to get the stuff to play the music. You know
Right.
what I mean? It was always about the
Well,
music.
and I talked about it on the last podcast that I did. It's like investing in yourself. You're never going to go wrong with that. Like I said, especially if it's something like that, that's ingrained in you, that's in your blood. Like that you're never going to turn your back on the music, and as long as you keep reinvesting in it, the music's never going to fucking do you wrong. You know,
Right.
even if something doesn't go well or you have a terrible show, learning experience, and maybe the next one now will be better because of it. So it's like with art, you're never too far gone to get better, and if anything, your absolute worst moment in creating could ultimately lead to your best moment, like, and art is like that, but life is like that too. You know what I mean? Like the more you reserve yourself and don't put yourself out there, the less likely you are to succeed and really break out and become who you are.
And that's what you reached out and about coming up here, and it was like, well, no, this will be good for me because that's kind of what I'm doing now. Is I'm just reserving myself too much. I'm not
Right.
going out and doing stuff, and so spot on, really. You gotta go out and you gotta do stuff. You gotta live life. You know, you can't sit at home and say, well, man, I wish I could meet some people and think they're just gonna show up on your doorstep or
Right.
some shit. You gotta go out, you gotta live.
Well, and that was
Yeah.
something too you said about like just even your ego, and you're not someone to like sit around and tout, all of your accomplishments, or even, I mean, some of them you're not even aware of, I think. Like, honestly, dude,
Yeah.
like, but me asking you to do this, I was like, man, like, I mean, from what I know, he might just say no just because you're not that look at me kind of person. You're not someone that feels like, wow, I want to sit here and talk about me for the next 3 hours. Like, that's almost the total opposite of who you are. Like I said,
Definitely.
even in all that time that we spent together and all of that shit that we did, we've been on so many adventures together. I don't think we ever sat down and like talked about like life and our personal experiences because, again, a little bit reserved. You know what I mean? Like you're not, really putting yourself out there. You express yourself through your music, and that's how people know you and get to know you and your stories. And you know,
That's really it. That's
and
that's it.
it's really cool that I'm really stoked that I did ask because again, I could have done the same thing. Nah, he'll just say no. Nah, it's not really his thing. But I'm so stoked that I did ask, and I'm so stoked that you agreed to do it because again, here you're having an opportunity to kind of reflect on maybe some things that you weren't even aware of that you did, and things that you should be proud of, and I think talking about these kind of processes and these kind of things really are helpful to other people to understand. Like, hey, the longer you sit on the couch and don't get started doing what you want to do, the longer it's going to take to be who you want to be. Like you might as well just quit fucking making excuses and just be who you are. And whether people accept it or don't, like at the end of the day, you're left with yourself anyway. You might as well be happy. You
Yeah,
know,
and I think you need to think about it a little bit. You have to try stuff, and you have to experiment, and you have to go out and live life because you only got one. As
and
far as we know, man,
and
you
learn to
got.
pat yourself on the back more often. Honestly,
I could learn that. I definitely don't do that enough, and I think I undersell myself a lot. But it's just my thinking. That's the way I am. I definitely don't want to be the guy who tells you how great I am all the
right.
time.
Yeah,
You
nobody
know.
likes that guy. Even if I agree with you, even if I think you're great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll
you're.
let you know. It's cool.
You
Show
remind
up
me
for
all the time. I'd be
seconds.
like, yeah. Why are they trying to convince me so hard?
uh,
Yeah. Do you feel like playing anything?
we could try something.
Yeah,
And
man.
my only disclaimer is I'm just gonna kind of wing it. Like
Hey,
that's
man.
it.
I wanted to make sure that you knew there was no pressure. Like again, you know me. I've been listening to you, since the basement days. So like, I'm just
Yeah,
happy to hear some fucking chords, man. Like I love it.
yeah. So this will be like just kind of like a little intimate kind of. There could be some mistakes here.
Yeah,
That's
you
my
don't.
disclaimer. Like we're just these songs were not intended for acoustic. I'm going to try to do them on acoustic. It takes an element out of it, but it's still it's something. It's
Right.
fun. It
Well,
gives you an
and
idea.
and real quick to touch on that, I actually fell in love with they did a whole compilation. They did Punk Goes Acoustic, and they did a bunch of albums with that. Have you ever listened to any of that?
No, I saw that some bigger names did it. I think Bad
The early
Religion put
the
out
early
a
ones are
acoustic
better.
thing.
Obviously, you're gonna get more of that, our generation's punk music in like the first volumes of that. But like, I'm telling you what, dude, to listen to like a lot of that stuff, like, I mean, again, takes a big element out of it. A lot of those songs, I'm like, man, this is a little bit weird to listen to it this slow. I'm like ready to get up and jump and go nuts, But like to listen to it and actually hear the lyrics a little bit better, a little bit clearer, without a lot of the distractions. Like, boy, man, I've actually grown to like the song more and learn to appreciate the art behind the song because now I'm hearing him actually sing it as opposed to his vocals over a bunch of noise, which as much.
That's it, and things are going to stand out more, right?
Yeah.
You're going to hear what those words are. You're going to have better understanding of what he's saying. Hopefully, it's a well-written song. Maybe it's
Yeah,
not.
and
Maybe
it's
there's not a real clear idea there.
well, it's one of those
Uh,
things you just take it hand in hand. You know what I mean? Like it's a more raw, intimate version of a song that I love, and it's like you have to take the good with the bad and accept that again authenticity over that wasn't fucking perfect. Do it again.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
it's just not that's not punk rock. So yeah, man, do what you need to do to get set up and get ready. I'm actually gonna take a piss real quick
yeah. Could
while
I
you
get
get
some
set up.
more water?
Yeah, man, I
Drink.
think I got a water for you.
Where
Man.
do we want me to sit? What do you think?
So with this chair, I know the arms are a little bit in the way for a guitar. So I have like this stool sat here.
That stool might work.
Either one, dude. Whatever is more comfortable for you.
Oh, you're.
You already had
You're
your recording while we were doing it.
I
Holy
can
shit!
restart it. I can just cut that out.
Take one.
Just delete.
No, just Yeah, just keep going. All right, so we're back. We went on a fucking beer run, got ourselves some liquid encouragement, and emptied the tanks, and we're ready to roll now. So we're gonna have Eric come back in here, and we're gonna fucking hear some chords and hear him play some music, and I couldn't be happier about it. You want me to announce you in like you're at the show? Do they even do that for musicians? Do they say, and next the
I'm
Antipsychotics?
pretty sure they don't do that.
Nah, that's bullshit.
Wow.
I could be your Bruce Buffer.
Might need them.
And now,
Maybe that's what's been missing.
the moment you've all been waiting for.
Whole life has been-
Hundreds viewing at home. For the 3 people in attendance and for the hundreds potentially viewing at home. Eric Johns, live from the fucking cellar.
From the cellar. Just do something, I guess. Huh?
Yeah, anything you want, man.
Ignorance, greed, a desire to live on to be the best. I want to be the strongest. Individuals apart from the society, proving ourselves to the best we can be. Reproduction is a goal, we achieve it just a toll. But we better ourselves to these principles. Is this the way that it has to be? Is this the way I'm designed to be? Is this the way that it has to be? Is this the way I'm designed to be? I'm a failure inside, I feel ashamed, I try to hide. I'm an awkward man in an awkward time. Leaders are weak, ignorant, upset, selling hate. Fear material things I don't need. Animal, nothing but an animal. Keep me up from the hurt, make yourself awake. Is this the way that it has to be? Is this the way I'm designed to be? Is this the way that it has to be? Is this the way I'm designed to be? Is this the way that it has to be? Is this the way I'm designed to be? Is this the way that it has to be? Is this the way I'm designed to be? Is this the way that it has to be? Is this the way I'm designed to be? Is this the way that it has to be? Is this the way that I'm designed to be?
That was amazing.
Oh man, that sounds
That
amazing
sounds
in here.
really good in here.
They sound good.
Oh,
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, she's got the headphones on. I trust the equipment and the system pretty much all the time. The acoustics in here sound really good. You know, even recording aside, just this space, dude, is just made for something like this. Like this is such a creative space, man. Really cool.
So how long do you want this to be? You want me to do a couple more? Or?
Dude, I haven't got to listen to you play in a long time, man. So I mean, you play as long as you want, man. Like I'm so stoked to just have you here, man, and have you playing stuff. Because like, again, whether it's stuff I haven't heard before, like I love that you've got a bunch of new solo stuff that you got coming out, and also any of the classics, you know. So I mean, I'm here for you, man. So you do your thing.
When we were young, we thought we'd be anything we want. Life goes on. We'll not give in were young, we thought we'd be anything, anything we want. But life goes on. Wears us down just like some dog. It breaks our spirit, it breaks our pride. But we push on, we will survive. It's in our minds, we can be anything, anything we want. We'll carry on. We will not give in to fear or disappear in the night. We will fight on. We will fight on and on and on. We will fight on and on and on. 'Cause our hearts, the way things are, we cannot change anything. Start with ourselves, soon we will see. We start small, soon everyone will see how good the world can be. And small turns big, and soon we will succeed. 'Cause in our minds we could be anything, anything we want. Carry on. We will not give in to fear or disappear in the night. We will fight on. We will fight on and on and on. We will fight on and on.
Thank you, bro.
Was that all right? Like
I'm
that?
telling you, dude.
That was
People
cool.
don't know. But this is my favorite song of yours. I mean, like, and this is, I don't know how old that song is. How long ago did you write that song?
Jeez, I don't know. We'd have to look on maybe the Bandcamp and see when I uploaded it.
Dude, from the time that I met you, Anti-Psychotics, I mean, like, I knew Ian for a little bit before I ever met you and did the band thing, but, dude, like, that fucking song, dude, is my favorite, probably, one of my favorite songs probably in my whole existence, dude, like, and to know you and to know the person that wrote it and to have the opportunity to have, like, you're playing this personally for me. And
actually,
Not only,
Yeah.
this is the first time that song has ever been played acoustic, right?
Pretty much.
I mean, other than, like, you practicing it maybe to play it here, like, so, I mean, like,
maybe
that's-
at some of those after party
Right.
type deals.
I'm
that
telling
were
you,
at.
dude. So like this is so special to me to have now. I have a recording, dude, of that song acoustic, dude. Like I mean, this is fucking dream come true, brother, man. Like thank you so much for playing that song. That's my favorite song.
Well, I wanted to make sure that I did that one because we had talked about it. a
Yeah,
little bit.
man. There's
You
But
wrote
it's-
that.
I want to say that it's really hard to take a song that was written for a band feel and sometimes to make it acoustic. It takes thought, and you kind of forget what you're doing if you're not well rehearsed in it. So-
well, and the way that that song was written was never to be played like that. You know what I mean? Like so, like to me, like I said, that's the first time I've ever heard that song played acoustic to my knowledge. And it's like, boy, the structure of that song changes again so much with having to make that an acoustic song and to be able to, you know, about those vocals the same way. Because that's a very, very fast song. I mean, like, it's fucking fast.
It was.
So to play that acoustic, man, and to have that skill and then, you know, just the mindset to be able to slow it down, stretch it out. I mean, dude, there was nothing better, dude. Like, that was the highlight of my life. That was fucking great, dude. Thank you. Anything else you do is just a bonus.
Bye.
my door. Nobody bought t-shirts, but fitting from their lives. Nobody for you rides. A man without a cause, 'cause how good I understand it. Make it so complex to me. I get so pissed, I can stand it. A waste of time's how I say it. I'm sick of it. Who's best in country man? Get stand for your opinion. Get the hell away from me. 'Cause I can see the future. Some good in its world. I choose between two evils. Seems like such a joy now. Good, I understand it. They make it so complex to me. I get so pissed, I can stand it. A waste of time's how I say it.
Dude, I didn't expect you to play that. You know, I was just listening to that before you come up here, dude. Like, and I always get that one and Runaway mixed up in the first part of it. I always think it's Runaway. Like, can't stand it.
Notice I write a lot of songs in A minor.
Okay.
And so I tried to pick songs that were different a little bit. So, like, The Way was, like, up in there. That's E. And then, Carry On was in A. And then Can't Stand It was in D.
Okay.
And so I tried to pick stuff in some different keys because most of the stuff I write's in A minor. I didn't want to play like every song that was in A minor. But I am losing my voice a little bit. I don't know if I could do one more or not.
Yeah, that's something you don't even think about, like, unless you're a musician or an artist. It's like, because even Christian had talked about that a handful of times about, like, doing, like, voice work and doing, like, voice acting. He's like, man, he's like, for the next 2 days afterwards, he's like, I couldn't fucking talk or nothing, dude. He's like, my throat hurts so bad from just, like, reciting over and over and over and having to hit that same note. And it's like, you don't realize how much stress that puts on your voice and the career of a musician.
Well, I don't interact with a lot of people. I sit around my house a lot. And that was part of the appeal to coming up here, was just to come up here and hang out with you guys.
Right.
And so, I'm not using my voice to even talk most of the time. And so when you try to sing, it's fading real quick.
Right.
But
yeah, it's interesting. We actually talked about that, like imagine like monks that don't talk at all. You know what I mean? Because I've gone like days, maybe like a day or two without speaking, and just like, I mean, oh my god, like your fucking vocal cords tighten up, and boy, it changes the way like you sound just like that. You're like raspy because your vocal cords need to be stretched and worked, and it's just like a muscle.
Yeah,
it's it's kind of cool, man. Like just for you to do this, because like I said, like I was cool, like recording or not, dude, just coming up and hanging out with you, man, and just seeing you, because I haven't in so long, and even just talking about some shit that we did when we were, a little bit younger than we are now. It's like, man, like we never had the chance to sit down and talk and have like a one-on-one ever, dude. There was always a huge crowd or a party or mass fucking chaos going on. So it's like the opportunity to just sit down and do this, even without cameras and mics and music, dude. Like I would do this 7 days a week, man, because we need to do this kind of stuff more, dude. Like I get so sick of looking at my phone, dude. Like I want to sit down with people and talk without distraction, and actually learn from people and experiences, as opposed to reading about it.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of like, to see that happen more. I think that's really what we need as a culture, as a society, is to get away from the digital footprint and kind of get back to gatherings and being social and learning conflict resolution and stuff.
Dude, that's probably the most beneficial way. You think about like all the introverts that music brought together, like just even in our little circle, all the people that otherwise would have just been sitting at home, not doing anything, not going out, not being a part of the society. Like but just a little bit of music, your courage to bring your music out into the public, dude, then encourages other people to find other people that are like minded or feel the same way or don't have a group. You know what I mean? Like it brings so many people together, and like really the music's great, and you're, stroking your ego a little bit. You're a musician, you're a rock and roller, you're all this shit, but at the same time, you're the reason people are getting together. You know what I mean? Like you and your creativity and you expressing yourself is the reason that other people are coming together. Like that's a fucking powerful thing.
Yeah, and that's a testament to music, right? It's because if you're sincere about it and you really write a song that you feel and you put it out there and people pick up the energy, and then you do. It's like a group polarization, right? And then people feel it,
Right. And just like that, I mean, like that song that you wrote, who knows where you were at? Do you even know? Where did you write Carry On? Do you have any memories of that song coming together?
I do.
I've never asked you.
I do. I was listening. I started getting into Gogol Bordello. You ever listen to them?
No, I've never even heard that.
They're like gypsy punk is what they call themselves.
Ooh.
And so
Write that down.
I'll show you a cool YouTube
That's
video
sick,
after
dude.
this.
What were they called?
Yeah, Gogol Bordello, Gogol, and then
They're like,
Bordello.
Google what? Google Bordello.
Yeah. And so he's writing lots of like inspirational sounding music, right? It's about like rising up and being awesome.
Uplifting and empowering.
And I said, I want to write an uplifting song. I'm usually very negative and depressing. I said,
she drinks.
Which is funny. She drinks. I think a lot of people love that song, and
good, dude.
I love that song. It's really great. But guess what? I don't drink that much, and so like I really don't want a girl that just drinks all the
But
time.
you're making shit for other people, though. That's the thing. It's the same thing. I don't like tribal tattoos.
Well,
but
it was
I do.
very much a point in my life, though. Was me and Sean were getting together, and me and Sean were coming to your party, you needed to have a case of beer for us.
Right.
Like, because me and him were going to put down a case of beer and trash your house. And so it was the idea at that time that you needed a girl who could keep up with you.
Right. Well, and again, obviously, we all grow up. We all, move past things. But I'm telling you what, like, again, that song is a testament to just that lifestyle, man. Like, I mean, you can sit here and say you're a 9 to 5 and you got all this stuff, like, that you're stuck doing, but you've lived a rock and roll lifestyle, man. Like you really have. I mean, like you've seen some great shit.
And
dude.
that's an interesting point to make. You don't have to be famous, well-paid musician to be a rock and roller and live a rock and roll lifestyle. You just have to go do it.
Right.
I saw an article. I think it was just an article in like a Guitar World, and they were interviewing Reverend Horton Heat. If you ever listen to him. And he said, if you go out and you play at your local tavern or whatever and make a couple of bucks, he's like, you're a musician. You don't have to be on a record label. He's like, do it.
Absolutely, dude. And it's no different than, creating art or making music. It's like, at the end of the day, I mean, like, nobody can tell you that you're not doing it if you're doing it. You're not pretending to be a musician. You're out there. You're doing it. You're playing music. You're making music. You're playing shows. I don't give a shit if you play one show a year. That's more than what the person that's playing zero is doing. And, you're more of a musician than a lot of other people. And it's like nobody can take you. Nobody can take that from you.
Yeah, and I think that's something that I pride myself in a little bit. And I don't have a lot of pride in anything. Because for some reason I just don't like it, I guess. But...
You're gonna start though, and like I said this before, the podcast is therapy, dude, and like we're sitting here for our own reasons. I like you, you like me. We're doing cool shit. We like to do cool shit together. It's like, but at the end of the day, you're gonna look back on this like, holy shit, man! Like I had that conversation, and like I learned something about myself while we were having that conversation, and like now tomorrow, I see things a little bit differently, maybe even a little bit clearer, like. I am cool. I do cool shit. There's a lot of people who aren't, and like I could be that. But at the same time, like I am actually doing it, and I should probably reward myself a little bit or give myself a little bit of credit for the fact that like, hey, I'm out there and I'm fucking trying it. You're as much as a rock star as you'll ever need to be.
And that's it, just going out and doing it, man, and enjoying it. And if you enjoy it, I mean, nothing else matters.
Yeah, yeah, and at the end of the day, like I said, I mean, like whether 100,000 people know who you are or you know who you are, that's all that matters at the end of the day. If you know, like, hey, man, this is who I am, blood, sweat, and soul. Like, I'm a musician, I'm an artist, I'm here to play music, and it doesn't matter if you're playing for yourself or a whole stadium, man. Like, that's why you're here, and you keep doing it.
Honestly, I think, if all the bands dry up and I'm just a lonely old guy in 302, hanging out by myself, and I'm still going to be writing music, and especially with the digital platforms that we have, where I could upload stuff. Sure, maybe no one will listen to it, but I could just do it and put it up. And if someone does stumble across it, maybe 5 or 10 years after I'm gone, someone finds it and says, "Wow, this is the best music I've ever heard."
Dude, I'm so glad you said that because I was almost about to cut you off, but I had to fucking glue my lips together. Because, like, seriously, I think about it all the time. Like, it used to not really mean as much, but now I guess because I'm older and a little bit closer to death, that like it's like, man, the stuff that I'm producing will definitely outlive me. So it's like, man, how fucking weird. Because like right now, it might not mean anything to anybody. It might not have a fucking a value at all as far as a Red Atwood piece or something that I created, but it's going to be here long after I'm gone. So maybe the work that I'm doing now and maybe the stuff that I'm putting out there now, maybe, I mean, like, again, might not be of any value financially. We're talking about monetary
But
value.
appreciation.
But somewhere down the road, somebody might learn from it. Somebody might appreciate it, might pick it up and say, holy fuck, where has this been all my life? You know, I mean, like, this is what I've been looking for forever. Like, the timelines might not line up, but we're putting this stuff out here, and thankfully, for all we know, it's going to be here long after we're gone.
And I think for me, that's part of a reward from it, is that I'm creating something. Someone might like it at some point in time. I actually wrote a song, and one of the lines in the song is "I'll live forever in these songs."
Yeah.
And once you put it up on there, I mean, yeah, some websites go away after a while, but I mean, it's out there for anybody to discover.
Yeah, and a meteor might crash into the fucking Earth and melt everything on the planet. But
well, that's eventually going to happen.
But hey,
statistically,
again,
we're overdue.
Well, it's like goes back to one of those things. It's like, man, I could sit here and tell you a million reasons why what I'm doing doesn't mean anything to anybody. It might never mean anything. The world's gonna blow up someday anyway. Who gives a fuck? But what the hell is the fun in that?
Though I take a spin on that, and I say because the world is going to blow up someday, that makes everything else matter that much more.
Thank you.
Right.
That's the point.
Because we have to cherish all of these moments.
Well, and it's like, again, you're here and you're now and you're fucking capable.
I'm very much into Zen Buddhism.
I'm glad, because like a lot of people are out of touch, and I don't want to call it a religion, but it's more like just a mental state and a way of life.
Okay, so you ever heard of self energy and chi? It's the same thing. I've actually experienced it. It's for real. And I've meditated to the point where my whole body started to tingle.
Ooh, tell me more.
And so I'm sitting there, and my whole body starts to tingle, and a thought come into my head, and I said, "Holy shit, I'm going to astral project," and then it went away.
Oh no, you fucking!
And so I experienced it for like a
very
glimpse of it, but then I didn't know what it was. Okay, and so I'm like, well, that was whatever, kind of cool. It was cool, but I'm reading this book, a psychology book, because that's what I like. And the guy's talking about describing that tingly feeling. He's like, that's your self energy, that's chi. And you have to block out all of the distractions in our world and quiet your mind to open that up so that you can experience it. And so I was actually good enough at meditation at one point where I experienced that for about 10 seconds.
Dude.
But I did experience it. But once you do that, it starts opening up this mind's eye to you, or like this interesting philosophy that, like,
wow,
there is a spiritual energy about us,
frequencies and vibrations. And see, this is
that book I read too actually said every object gives off a frequency.
Yeah.
Everything has
Energy,
a vibration. And
sound.
it's a little bit more interesting for someone like yourself, who, again, music, that's all that is. That's fucking vibrations. And I mean, that's literally all you're doing, is you're just creating different sounds and frequencies and vibrations. So it's like, I mean, that is like the universal language. You know, again, if you couldn't speak, but you had some way to produce a sound, you could invoke a feeling all upon me without having to say a word. You know what I mean? And that's something that we all should not ignore. That it's like, yeah, that's a good song. It makes me happy. But no, there's something more. There's something more deeper ingrained in us when it comes to hearing a certain frequency or hearing a certain tone or a vibration to where it makes you, you know, whatever, it was serotonin boost. So it's like, with that ability to meditate to that level of detachment, because what that is you're depriving your senses of all of the distractions, the physical, everything, all the way down to like just feeling your physical body.
Yeah.
This would be a great opportunity to talk about our newest sponsor, Dream Float. Have you ever heard of deprivation float tanks?
No, but it sounds cool.
Dude, this is exactly what these things are designed for. So this is what it is. It's called a deprivation tank, a sensory deprivation tank. And if you know anything like with like Epsom salt, how you can put it in a bath, and you know, essentially it's good for your body. It's
I
good
think
for
I've
your
seen
skin.
this before. I think
So
continue, please.
so with a float tank, I mean, like, you have the option obviously to taper into it with sound and lights and stuff. But sensory deprivation is to deprive yourself of all of your senses, sight, smell, feeling, and everything. And that's exactly what this is. It's a pod that you lay in, and it's got just a little bit of water in it, and you're actually floating, and you can experience weightlessness. And then you're also deprived of sound,
Right.
smell.
You put like headphones on, you put like a blinder on.
Well, you're in
and
a pitch
just
black
sitting there.
pod, so yeah, so you're inside a confined, soundproof pod,
I
okay,
need to do that at least once.
and this is the thing. So I mean, you have the ability to completely unload all of this physical material bullshit, because that's all it is. You know, when you get down
Distraction.
to it,
It's a world of distraction.
you talk about your third eye and about your ability to look inward. And it's like so many people are, I mean, my phone's going off right now. It's like so many people are just, blah, 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 blah. You need to just be able to unhook, unplug.
And I think that's what people need to do from time to time. You
It
just
should
need
be
to shut up.
mandatory.
You know, and I think there's a lot of like polarity in this world right now, and people are far left and far right, and just so pissed off at everything.
And
Just
like,
just turn it off. Turn
stagnant,
it off. I'm
negative
from Ford
energy.
City, Pennsylvania. Guess what? A lot of these issues don't affect me ever.
Maybe indirectly, but
maybe some costs go up, right? But like, I mean,
so is life. You know what I mean? Like, it's again talking about one finite thing. We're talking about monetizing and finances, and it's like that's just a very finite part of existing. Yes, the economy is going to go
really,
through
we
things.
could do with a lot less. And
I
it's really like when you start tuning everything out and you experience that self energy and you realize that is an awesome feeling, better than any high you've ever experienced. And trust me, I've done them all. Okay, and it's like that is maybe the coolest thing I've ever experienced. And it was from doing without things.
and that's what it teaches you, is like people are always searching for something, you know. And of course, when we talk about anything, it's a physical thing, it's a tangible thing, it's a, you know, a career goal or a financial goal or a, you know, I want to have this and that. But when it comes down to it, boy, you don't realize how much happier you are with less and less and less. The less you have, the less stress, less to manage, less bullshit. It's like when you get into those tanks and they do 30 minutes, hour. I usually do it 2 hours, because I'm not afraid to face the darkness and the unknown.
You've actually done this.
Lots.
Yeah,
You know, the whole time that I was in California, dude, this is something that these people made me aware of, because I was very, very, very endowed into like psilocybin mushrooms, microdosing, and things like that, because it's the same thing. You know, in taking like a 5 gram dose of psilocybin mushrooms, you're completely detaching yourself from anything physical or, you know, tangible. So like and again, we're talking taking mushrooms in an environment, like I wouldn't take them and like do silly things like people would do. Of course, I've done that in my youth, but like when you take mushrooms, or when I take mushrooms, I'm in a room by myself in pitch black, no phone, maybe a little bit of light music, but I want absolute deprivation of anything material and physical in this world, because that psilocybin, that whole entire process is about looking inward and about looking into yourself,
And
not.
this makes me think a lot about ketamine.
I have never experienced anything
And
like
that's
that.
That's
but,
why they take that. I've never experienced it, but that's the point of it.
But it's rooted in the fact that at the end of the day, our being and our soul and our self isn't a physical exist. I mean, it's more about spirituality, and it's about frequencies and about vibrations, and it's about our energies, and that's where it's like every bit of every physical thing brings you nothing but stress, and it's weight, it's physical pressure. You need to unload that.
And that's really what our culture seems to be built up on, and everyone's like concerned.
And they keep
about
piling
this,
it. It's like more and more.
I'm ready to disconnect, really.
And we're not saying going off the fucking deep end and become a loon and go, join a cult and enter the forest and drink the Kool-Aid and all that. But like you said, even just once, because like right now with psilocybin alone, and I'm not recommending anybody go out and do fucking mushrooms. Again, there's a right and wrong way to do things. But with Johns Hopkins Medical College, they have like an 80% success rate with people quitting smoking with one therapeutic dose of psilocybin. And it's like, so with one session in a float tank might be enough for you to right yourself mentally, and to be able to get yourself on the right track.
Try that.
Yeah, I think it's something like I had talked to.
Is there anywhere around here that does that?
Yeah.
Right next to my tattoo shop, actually. That's what I actually have the lady that runs the place coming in on Monday for a podcast to be able to kind of just give our audience a little bit of because I can talk about it all day, but I want someone sitting in the chair that has the actual scientific knowledge about why this does.
I want to see that one.
Because she also had, actually, when we were in there just to do kind of like the pre-interview, she had talked to us about, they have a hyperbolic chamber, which to me, I'm like thinking Dragon Ball Z, but this is a real thing. So it's a pressurized chamber, and it actually can regenerate skin cells, so for people with like skin grafts, nerve damage, tissue damage, it can actually take scarring and nerve damage and actually reboot your body's nerves and kind of reset yourself to where, again, like someone that's dealing with lifetime or lifelong effects from like scar tissue or skin grafts or anything like that, or nerve damage, can actually reverse that by pressurizing yourself.
That's
and this lady's like, I roll over and go to sleep in this thing. It's like, you're just in a pressurized tank for an extended period of time, and they have a doctor that checks you out beforehand and obviously makes sure that this is the right solution. But you figure so many people are dumbed down with medication, physical therapy that just never works. There's no solution. There's no end game. There's a whole lot of other options coming out now with, like I said, this place that's right down the road from our tattoo shop has a sauna, has the float tanks. They have an IV hydration bar, which I'm sure you've heard now is a big thing for people who, just kind of need to replenish vitamins and are concerned with body health and just staying hydrated. Like, you can now go get an IV and replenish your fucking self, which is
wild. I think that's a California thing. I think that was first a California thing. And now they have one over here.
And same with the float tank thing.
Fucking St. Mary's.
I'm like, you mean to tell me? Because again, I would have never in a million years thought that would have trickled into a small area like this. But the fact that it has isn't the solution. The fact that people don't know what it is, don't know what the benefit of it is the problem. Like, because that's sitting there, dude, and just diamond in a rough, dude, just underappreciated. People have no idea.
Like really high tech, like awesome, like,
dude, anything to get people's fucking mind right and get yourself to unload. Like I said, some of this weight that people carry around every day, because most of it is like so repressed. You're just coasting through life, dude. You have no idea really how fucking much weight you're carrying every day. It's a miracle we all get through the day and be able to survive.
And I really need to do the meditation more. And then it's like I just do like your diaphragm breathing, clear the mind, right? And I experience the self energy through that.
But that's incredible that you can do that yourself.
Yeah, and it's just you have to give yourself time to do it. I haven't been doing it, right? I'd say, I need to do this. I want the distraction. Right. Instead of meditating, I'm sitting on my couch watching the X-Files.
Right. And it's easy. It's it's one of those things. It's like self-discipline is so important, but that's honestly the most difficult thing to do.
It's so difficult to be disciplined when our culture doesn't want you to be disciplined. They want you to compulsively spend your money.
No, they just keep pumping you full, dude. Like, and that's the problem.
There's always someone asking for something.
I find myself, dude, I'm like, holy fuck, dude, I've scrolled through like 15 fucking reels, dude. Like, oh my god, I'm in a fucking K-hole of YouTube shorts. I'm like, fuck, dude, get this thing away from me.
I was doing that this morning. I woke up early and I was just scrolling through the phone. I was like, I don't want to do anything because I'm doing the thing with Rhett, so I'm just going to sit here and scroll through. There's absolutely nothing I want to see on it. But I'm doing it anyways.
I'm like watching clips from like 1990s wrestling, WWF fucking shit. Just people getting stone cold fucking thundered and shit. Like, I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I could be a productive fucking member of society, you know, but I'm sitting here watching fucking
I don't want to
Stone Cold in the 90s.
Do nothing.
So retarded. Yeah, it's like, you know, again, by design. They know that if we're productive and we're being creative and we're thinking for ourselves, we're dangerous. You know, you're like, you know, we might fucking change things, you know.
They don't want nothing changed.
No, keep us stupid, keep us distracted, man. Like, it's
all distraction.
Yeah, but at the same time, you should be scrolling through and endlessly scrolling into a K-hole of all of my YouTube shorts. You should probably subscribe to my YouTube channel and my Facebook channel and my Instagram, so that way that you can spend all of your day scrolling through all of my content, and then spend the rest of your day spending, you know, all your time listening to Eric's music and watching all Eric's videos. It's like one of those things, like, we're like, man, this social media sucks, and we're like, let's post all of our shit on social media so people look at our shit and like our shit.
It's bad for you unless it's my shit.
Yes, exactly. Stop watching everybody else's shit and watch our shit, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, that's why I need to.
Yeah.
So I can
I'm like,
do it
man,
about mine.
like, my whole fucking social media video that I just posted is about, man, we should stop watching videos on social media. Get outside. I'm like, fuck, that's really gonna fuck up my fucking algorithm.
No, actually, don't go outside. Click the next video link.
Yeah,
and then
like,
after that, go to the Anti-Psychotics and Eric John's music on Bandcamp and send him some money. Send him all of your money. Send him your parents' money too.
I'm telling you, it's like that fucking Super Bowl.
But really, I'm not like that. I don't want anybody's money. I have my own money.
You're not a fan of football, are you?
I'm a fan of hockey.
I knew you were a hockey guy. I didn't know that because, again, Ian, same thing. Like, he's all hockey.
Ian got me into hockey.
So like, I was just thinking, like, with you saying that, I was like, man, that Super Bowl halftime show, that whole time he was like, turn your TV off, turn your TV off. I was like, boy, that would really fuck up your paycheck, wouldn't it? We turn our TV off, you ain't getting fucking any views, man.
See,
like, what are you doing?
See that.
It's like, oh my god, dude. Like, oh, it's so funny. But yeah, hockey's good, man. Hockey is one of the things, man. I'm glad that they haven't fucked with that at all, because again, they would have, you think, taken the fighting out of that a long time ago. I just talked to a good friend of mine last night about the Isle of Man TT, which is a street bike race on some deserted island. Not deserted, it's not deserted. But again, like, people die every year during this big ass street bike race. It's like, man, at least we allow some things to stay American. Things are dangerous, you know. Things are fucked up. People get killed.
And I think that I'm really into, like, live and let live and freedom of choice. And, like, man, if someone wants to go race their fucking bike on an island and possibly die, guess what? It's none of your business unless you want to pay to see it.
Yeah. Or get into a fist fight on the ice. You know, like, yeah. I think they tried that once, right, to take fighting out of hockey. I think they tried that one time.
Well, it was like a bunch of talk, you know, and I'm not an expert, and I don't follow things that closely because I'm too selfish. But,
yeah, I don't know.
You know, they talk about it, but it's just part of the game. It's part of the psychology of the game, you know. People are going to take runs at your star players, and if they have a big guy that's going to punch them in the face, if they do that, they might think twice about it. Because, let's face it, nobody likes getting punched in the face. Right.
Yeah, I wonder why, though, not letting it trickle into other sports. You know what I mean? Like, why not allowing fighting in football or maybe in gymnastics? Like, you know, hit this bitch on the fucking I-beam. Yeah, throw a fucking elbow, you know, might fucking affect her score a little bit.
That's funny. She just comes, they're up on the I-beam.
Tennis,
like,
maybe.
Like trips her, she falls.
I just kicked the I-beam.
Oh, she was almost got a perfect score. But...
Springboard. Man. Yeah, it's an interesting element, dude. Yeah, I'm not one for violence. I'm actually more of a calm, docile person. I want everybody to get along, but it's an interesting element to the sport, and I wonder if it didn't have the fighting, how many people would stop watching it.
I don't
Yeah.
think anybody would stop watching it, but I think it's
Probably
important.
not.
I think it's important to the game. And though I'm definitely your pacifist mindset too. I like people getting together. You know, I read a book by Karen Horney, and she said you break people down into three groups. There's the people that claim freedom, the people that claim strength, and the people that claim love. And I would definitely be a claim of love. You know,
Yeah.
I want people getting along. I like being liked. I like liking people.
Well, and even as again, like I claim all the time, like I'm not really a social person, and that's why essentially I force myself into social situations because that's not my comfort zone. So again, it's very deceiving. People look at me maybe from afar or maybe in the positions that I'm in and think, well, yeah, he's a social fucking butterfly. But
You do seem social, actually.
in the reality of it, it's because I actually thrive in situations where I'm the most uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Like I exist better on the fringe. Again, if things are easy and things are coming to me without effort, I actually am bored and I'm uninterested and I don't feel challenged. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, it's actually like your base reading. It's like
yeah,
this is where I
it's
need to
like
be.
so I actually enjoy, like I said, the fact that like 5 minutes before a client's supposed to show up for a tattoo, like I'm having a fucking panic attack because maybe I mean it probably has nothing to do with the fucking tattoo. I know that I have the skill and in most cases the ability to do the tattoo. A lot of times it's just a social interaction because it's someone maybe I've never met before, someone I don't know, someone that doesn't know me, they've never had my work before, they bring in somebody, they have family coming with them that's all going to watch me do this tattoo on them. It's like I just could start snowballing, and like I'm literally like, and then he walks to the door and it's like, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like game face on and ready to go. But it's like I'm not a social person, and I actually would much rather sit in a dark room by my fucking self. And whether I be doing my own thing or on, whatever, I could be glued to a phone, I could be glued to a sketchbook or nothing at all. I mean, like I exist so well. We actually talked about this on the fucking beer run. It's like I exist so well by myself that I don't need anybody. I literally could exist in my own skin by myself. I'm content enough, and I could be entertaining to my own self. I can make jokes all day and be the only one laughing. I'm fine. But I force myself to be social and get out and expand my horizons because I know that's truly where I am going to exist in my happiest state. I am happiest when I'm talking to somebody about something I love or something that you love. Like, even though I don't necessarily like being surrounded by people. All eyes on me is a very uncomfortable feeling for me. But again, I fucking bring people in constantly and let them hover over me and watch me tattoo. And, I put videos out. So it's like, it's just, I fucking combat that on the front lines. My social anxiety and my introvertness, I fight that with full force by just being social and forcing myself to do things that I know that I would much rather maybe not do. And I grow. And just like sitting here. Like again, we've learned so much about just ourselves and our experiences just from sitting here for a couple hours. Like how easy was that? You know?
Yeah, and that's it. You know, they call it the talking cure, right? That's basically what a therapy session is, I think. But you
Have
know,
you done like actual therapy?
yeah.
Have you? Is it like, is it the same thing? Because I've never like talked to someone who's like a licensed therapist that's like paid to sit there and listen to me. You know what I mean? Like, is that it? I mean, like, is that the same thing as sitting here right now? I mean, maybe not so
If
much
you
as,
make it that way,
yeah,
I think they're going to let you lead the
yeah,
experience. Basically, what a therapist is just a support, a resource. They're going to give you maybe different ideas to better yourself. You have to put all the work in.
right.
They don't give you nothing.
I guess it's really like the main benefit is like the outside perspective, maybe an unbiased, because like obviously if you're talking to anybody in your inner circle, they're gonna have some maybe,
Well, and I think that's where I was at, right? I really felt like attacked or like everyone in my life was competing with me, right? And so you really don't have a person to open up to. Let's
right,
face it, family is a label, but those people can compete with you,
right,
right? They can judge you, right? Where this third party is basically getting paid to not do that. And so, you start talking about stuff and you feel better, right? You just get what's in here out, and someone's listening. It gives you some
Feedback, right?
feedback on it. It means a lot, and you don't realize it until you actually do it and take it seriously.
Well,
But it can do a lot for a person.
and similar to probably like, maybe not so much similar, but like to like writing a song and then playing it out and things like that. Like you're getting it off of your own head, you're getting it off your shoulders. Like
And
so
I think that's the
putting
point.
it
The
out.
antipsychotic, right? That's
Right,
what
that's your
that's all
medicine,
about.
right? Yeah. I truly think that that's probably like the most beneficial cure to insanity is to just to unload it, and it essentially has to be an unbiased blank canvas, and that's where like
You don't want somebody manipulating you.
well, it's hard because everybody has their own interests in most cases,
And that's it. That's it. Everything's very competitive. My work is competitive. My maybe music is competitive too, right? Everyone wants to be the star of the show. Everyone wants to find the girl. Everyone wants to do this and do that. And so, life's tough, man.
Well, and I guess no matter what situation you're in, if you're choosing to look at things that way, it could be that way. But I'm sure that you probably don't feel the same competitive feeling like with the music. Like when you're around other musicians and you're all on the set list and you've all got to play the show tonight, you're kind of on the same level. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I'm sure that maybe you've interacted with some people that maybe felt like they were above you because you're the opening act and they're the headliner. But in most cases, it's like, man, we're all here to play a show and we're all here to just, put on a good show for the
And
audience.
I think the music has been mostly a positive experience for me because you just get to be a part of something, I guess.
Well,
and it's usually a positive energy if we're talking energies.
I think it helps too that everybody that would be standing in that green room and everybody that would have to get on that stage at some point tonight knows what the fuck it took to get there and knows how hard it was to get out of your own head and maybe put lyrics to a piece of paper and then also got to record it, and now you've perfected that and you've got to play it in front of people now. It's like,
and the one thing that I take into consideration always is the courage that it takes just to stand up in front of a group of people.
right.
And with someone who's had problems with social anxiety and everything, and just to be able to stand up there and put yourself out there. And, you'll never hear me badmouth anybody about their performance, even if it wasn't that good. You know what? They went up there and they did it, and that made it good, right?
And
because they just did it.
I can say the same thing if I look at somebody's tattoo work and it might be what I would deem to be a bad tattoo. It doesn't look good, but it's like, hey, you could only hope that like they're doing it and they're going to be better on the next one. They've learned something to it. You know what I mean? Like they're committed to it, and it's like, you're going to have off days and you're going to have good days. Like it's a process. And we're only human beings, and there's a large margin of error in producing something that doesn't exist until you've sung it or played it or drew it. Like it's a weird thing to be the one that's manifesting the thing that everybody's judging. Like I said, I mean, if I'm over here selling a product somebody else makes, they're judging that person on the product, not me. So it's different.
And just putting yourself out there to be judged.
Well,
it's tough shit.
I'd be interested to see. Do you have anything that stands out? Worst show, worst experience playing a show.
Worst show. We drank too much. That was the worst show.
Before the show.
Yeah, and we played. Maybe we played last. Maybe we shouldn't have been a band that was playing last because we had lots of time to drink.
the responsibility of the headliner.
and just self-destructed halfway through the set. I don't even know if we got halfway through the set.
Really?
Yeah. And I think Mike threw a beer at me.
Dude.
Like, it was just like, I was sloppy drunk. I'm sure of it. I'm sure that I just sat down on stage at some point.
Well, and the funny thing is we can talk about, I don't care if you're entry level just singing drunk karaoke, but most people sound much better to themselves when they're drunk. I mean, like, what is it like to be on stage playing a fucking show and you've had a little bit too much to drink?
Well, yeah, I think when you're up there and you're playing the show and you're reading the responses of the crowd, right? And so, and that's probably part of the problem is that the energy level was off in the room, right? People weren't into us because we weren't performing good, right? And it has the opposite of that positive group polarization effect. We have now created a negative group polarization effect.
I just keep trying to imagine the crowd is now against you.
Like, okay, so they're scowling. They're actually like, okay, are you done yet? You're annoying us. We want to drink our beer in peace.
Oh, that'd be so terrible.
I've
I
had
mean,
that.
especially because you're the lead guy. You know, if I'm the drummer, I'm not dealing with the same pressure you are.
And the songs aren't like fast; they're kind of slow, and we're just not playing right. And,
That's so funny, dude.
yeah, it definitely happens.
Builds character.
And that's part of the excitement of the live presentation, right? Jimi Hendrix had shitty shows. I heard a person who was interviewed and said he saw one of them. And he was like, yeah, Jimmy was on acid and the band was trying to keep pace with him, but it was like wonky, wonky, wonky. Cause
just thought they're going too
because he was just playing all over the place. And so it happens. It's live. It's
and
real.
what's crazy is I'm telling you what, that experience will stand out far more than the millions of people that seen him play perfectly flawless shows. Like, man, you know what? I seen Jimi Hendrix like totally fucking bomb.
And that becomes bragging rights at some point, right?
That'd be
It's
amazing.
like, he played so many awesome shows. I was at the one he didn't play.
So,
good.
I mean, everybody's heard him play amazing and heard him play good. I would love to hear him fumbling, dude, and fucking stumbling. It would be great.
See him so messed up he can't even stand up straight, right?
I mean, talk about a humbling experience, because again, you know, anybody who's put themselves out there knows what that feels like, and it's like you can sit there and put him up on a pedestal and say he's one of the legends. He's been there too. He's, you know, walked away from a fucking audience and been like, holy fuck, like, I don't even feel right charging him for that performance, you know? It's
it
like,
happens. We're human. We err.
dude, I mean,
Yeah.
not often, but there's days when I walk away from a tattoo and it's like I'm disappointed in myself. Even if they're completely happy with the design or the tattoo or the way it looks, I'm like, man, I could have done better, or maybe, you know what I mean? Like, you know, we're only human, and again, we're going to be our hardest critics because, you know, you're the one that's producing it, you know, so you're going to look at it in a totally different light.
Yeah, and I'm always super critical.
All right, so let's go harsh contrast. Best, you know, memory, best experience playing shows or music in general.
What was that place? Connellsville. I believe it's called Connellsville. And they had a benefit show. One of their friends passed away, and that place was packed. And we came out and we did our thing, and Ian did his thing, right? And showed his shit to everybody, right? And everybody was into it. There were people dancing. There were people crowd surfing. Everyone was having a good time. It's like that whole room was like in sync.
Embodied, like just
Like we are loving it. Memory of their friend, I suppose. I did not know their friend. But those people came out and they really had the energy, you know. The crowd made the show.
right.
And it
most
wasn't
of the time
us.
they do, you know, like
It
again,
wasn't us, it was the crowd. And it was the meaning behind it to them, I think. And that was probably one of the best shows that we ever played.
Well, and see again, that show being your best show, that show had nothing to do with you. It didn't even have anything to do with the Anti-Psychotics. And I
No.
mean, like, you were there selflessly to play a show for somebody else's memory. So it's like it's just plays into your character again that, like, you know, that's like a highlight for you that, you know, you were able to, you know, bring people that were there for, you know, maybe not such a great reason, you know, they're losing somebody, you know, and to be able to bring them up and to be able to bring them into a moment where they're all together and they're all celebrating something in the life of somebody, you know, and again, it doesn't matter who Eric Johns is, it doesn't matter who the Antipsychotics is, but like they're providing an energy and a feeling that's bringing them up from a tragedy. Like, I mean, that's on the most basis level. Like I said, if we remove all the labels from it, who gives a fuck about punk rock and, you know, all this shit, leather jackets? It's like, you know, at the end of the day, like you're creating happiness in people that have every reason to be upset and sad, you know, and that's a huge fucking thing to do for people.
And that was the best one. And that was the best one in my mind. And because they were, man, they were living it. And it was them who made the show great. And boy, I wish I could play 5 more of those shows. That was an amazing experience.
And
But that is what it's about. It's about being around that energy. We want positive energy.
Yeah,
because
just
the rest of the world is so fucking negative.
Yeah.
I just feel like it's sucking the life right out of me most of the time.
And that's like we talked about Vince Neil. It's like, you look at those little moments, where you're seeing glimpses of like, that's the way things should be right there, where everybody's happy. It doesn't matter what color your skin is or what fucking state you live in or who you voted for. Like, for that moment in time, everybody forgot all that stupid shit that we all fucking disagree about Monday through Friday. And it's like, man, we all harness just, togetherness through a frequency, through vibration, through an energy. It's like, so like, chasing that, dude, I would only hope that you would do that until you're fucking 90 years old and until you couldn't stand it
that's
anymore.
what it's all about. It's about chasing that energy. I think I'm really susceptible to energies. You know what I mean?
We all are, man. And I'm going to get you hooked up with the float tank because I'm hoping that this is not going to be a one-night stand that you come up here and do this because, again, whether we're recording a podcast or up here, like I said, go to the float tank, we, go talk to this venue about maybe starting to do some local shows and stuff, man. Like, I think that there's a lot of potential, not just for the community, not just for music, but just for personal growth. I think that, you could benefit from it. I know I'll benefit from it. And anybody who's making anything, like I said, I could fucking think of a million ways to incorporate music, art, having some good laughs. There's 100 ways to do it, and I think that really the only thing at the end of the day is to just make sure that we do these things because it's all we have.
Do these things and live the fullest life that you can live because one day you're not going to have it. And or maybe one day your health will be so bad that you're not going to be able to do anything. And so you really have to take advantage of opportunity. And the opportunity, sometimes you got to create it.
Yeah, unfortunately, like, we don't know how much time we have or if it, it even means anything. But you might only have one chance to figure it out. Therefore, you might as well fucking do it to the fucking max.
Gotta do it. Gotta live it. I'm all about it. I'm all about coming up here. Kind of like it, the area. It was a nice drive up here.
And another thing too is that, like, I knew asking you being far away, like, well, you've driven across states, you've flown across the country. I mean, like, to promote your music, to express yourself. So I mean, I knew that realistically the distance wasn't going to be a deterrent at all, man. Like, so as long as you were welcome to opening yourself up a little bit, man, and kind of fucking, talking about your experiences.
I've had a good time up here. I'm happy.
Oh yeah, man. Like, it again goes all back to energy, man. Like, this is something we could do, whether we're doing a podcast or not, man. Like, I'm all for it, man. Like, I miss sitting around with interesting people and just having, the opportunity to create things together and, see what's possible.
Absolutely.
Well, where are we at? You want to fucking call it at that? Anything else you want to fucking say or play?
No, I think I'm good.
All right. Well, thank you guys. I'm going to do my best to get this out, man. I've been waiting on this one for a while, dude. And, like, again, no pressure on anybody that wants to do these things. But I encourage anybody, because this is a testament, because I'm sure, I mean, I'm asking at least like 4 or 5 people a day, interesting people I think would be cool to talk to. And 90% of the time, 99% of the time, positive responses. Most people are interested and engaged. But if there's anybody out there that thinks for a split second that I'm not interesting enough, or I don't have anything to talk about, or I don't find any reason for me to do it, I beg to differ. Anybody I think could benefit from sitting down and talking. I don't care if you just work a regular 9 to 5, or you play music, or fucking do nothing. Come on down and have a conversation. This is always a good time, man. Again, every time we do this, we learn something. So, thank you for coming up here, man. Couldn't be happier.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We are out. Oh, man, I gotta piss so bad.
That was fun. I enjoyed it.
Oh, yeah, dude. That's a beautiful guitar, man.
Thank you. Man, it's light. It's a light guitar. And so it has more of a higher tone to it, where I think you get like those jumbo body acoustic guitars, they have more of a deeper tone and bass resonance. But I actually have a classical acoustic one, but the playing's a little bit different on that.